A dark hall, black stone, not a torch in sight. One old man walks between two rows of empty pillars and stops at the far end, where a shape sits on a small silver stand, covered in velvet cloth. He does not lift the cloth. He does not need to. He just runs his gloved hand across the top of it, slow, the way you'd pet a sleeping cat. He smiles. Then he keeps walking. Cut. A woman sits alone in a room lit by one candle. Her legs are on a workbench in front of her. Her lower half from the waist down is black silk thread, hundreds of loops of it, arranged like the legs of a very patient spider. She is stitching a fresh loop through her own thigh with a curved needle. She hums a lullaby while she works. Her smile does not stop for the pain. Cut. A grassy training field. A girl in a resistance cloak, red hair flying, palm up, laughing. Flat on his back in the dirt below her is our guy. His shirt has a perfect glowing handprint burned into the sternum. He is wheezing. She points at his chest and mouths that she is proud of herself. Cut. Above Jill's open palm, a black anvil unfolds itself out of a fold of pure shadow. It floats. Fire the color of a bruise pours upward off it, not down, up. Jill smiles like a kid at his own birthday. Cut. Down in a dripping stone corridor, Gastra, bandaged, dragging one bad leg, is being helped forward by two hooded attendants. At the end of the corridor, sitting on a throne of stitched bone, is something that looks like Gastra's older brother, matching horns. Wet grin. Too many teeth for one mouth. He opens his arms like Gastra just came home from a long trip. Roll it back to a small kitchen an hour before sunrise. Our boy is still on the floor with his back against a warm stove. A ghost girl in a borrowed body is asleep on his shoulder. Neither of them has moved in almost an hour. And neither of them wants to. They earned it. Quick catch-up for anyone tuning in fresh. Jill, timid spirit-talking map boy, got thrown off a cliff by his own hero party. Bone Dragon saved him. Skeletal arm harvests skills off dead things. He went home, killed the loudest betrayer, drained the prettiest one into a screaming crone, tricked the smartest one into a maps room ambush, and ate his soul shard. Along the way, he brought a century-old dead hero back inside her murderous sister's fresh body, because if the universe was going to hand him a spare miracle, he wasn't going to be picky. That hero is currently asleep on his shoulder, and her name is Runa. 2 Valzard shards down. 2 to go. Except now the board just changed. An emperor a country and a half to the east has decided he wants Jill's arm on his personal shelf, and to convince Jill to walk over voluntarily, he sent his own priest, Viserion, 3rd shard, 10,000-year-old face shifter, will come back to him, with a friendly offer and a very unfriendly parting gift. The gift was a demon lord poking one long clawed finger through a rift in reality and pointing it at Runa. He said one word. Soon. Yeah. Not great. Jill has been sitting on Morrow's kitchen floor turning that word over in his head for 48 minutes. Runa is asleep. The stove is warm. The tea is done. And every time he closes his eyes, he sees the finger. He decides 3 things while she sleeps. 1. She never fights alone. 2. He is never more than a heartbeat away from wherever she stands. 3. Whatever the Emperor's hunter turns out to be, it doesn't get to land clean. Then the sky through the kitchen window goes gray, and Morrow clatters down the stairs in her nightgown asking who wants breakfast, and the morning after killing Voss begins. Political chaos hits the capital by breakfast. A palace maid opens the maps room door with a fresh pot of coffee, sees the first sword face down on a broken relief map, and drops the pot straight through the floorboards. Within an hour, every noble house in Glora has sent a runner sniffing for details. Within 3, the story leaves the palace and hits the street. The official version, cooked up in a panicked hour by Voss's own advisors, the first sword died in an honor duel with a masked northerner. Very dramatic, very sad, very not what actually happened. No mention of the cursed sword, no mention of the shard in his chest. No mention of the fact that the throne room's 4th wall now has a Jill-shaped hole through it. The nobles don't believe the official version. They don't have to. They only need to move faster than each other, because a golden throne with no butt on it is the best kind of Tuesday. Jill hears the palace bells go off from Morrow's kitchen. He counts them. 6 tolls. Death of a ranking noble. He raises his teacup at the ceiling in salute. Runa wakes on his shoulder and asks who died. He tells her Voss did, per the official record. She grunts, rolls off him, says she wants an omelet. Morrow makes them omelets. They stay in the little room above the shrine for 2 days. Not because they have to. Morrow's cousin already forged their next set of travel papers by noon on day 1, but because Jill needs a workshop and Runa needs practice, and the wine merchant next door is loud enough at night that nobody can hear anything happening in Morrow's back courtyard. Day 1, Jill sorts skills. 3,000 of them, give or take. Most of them dumped into his arm from a dead god-sized dragon during a 9-second panic absorb inside a mountain. Half of them don't have names. A quarter carry names in a language nobody has spoken in 9 millennia. A handful arrive with warnings the arm delivers as a low itch under the skin that just means don't try that one indoors. He builds a mental filing system. He tags the combat-ready skills green. Anything with a chant longer than a paragraph goes yellow. Anything that would flatten a district goes red. Anything he doesn't understand at all goes purple, and there is a lot of purple. He also finds 3 surprises. Number 1, coin turn. He remembers picking it earlier, flips a coin flip situation in his favor once. He still has no clue what the arm considers a coin flip, so he's saving that one for a rainy afternoon. Number 2, silver tongue at 10%. He used it at the gala. Sorting turns up the fact that the skill can be pushed to 100%. At 100%, per the tiny description that unspools in his mind, the listener will agree with the last sentence spoken. Any sentence. Any listener. He puts a big mental red flag on it and files it under, for emergencies where lying is cheaper than a fight. Number 3, something called long look. He can't quite tell what it does. When he tries to activate it, the arm just points slowly toward the east and holds there, like a compass with an opinion. He shelves it. Future problem. By late afternoon of day 1, he sits cross-legged in the middle of Morrow's back courtyard with the cursed black sword across his knees. Voss's parting gift. The pretty little abomination that pulled Jill's arm off the map table with one swing. He examines it in daylight properly. Handle wrapped in dark leather, guard shaped like 2 thin curved feathers. Blade absolutely black, not painted black, not stained black, black in the way a hole in the world is black. The edge does not catch the sun. The sun stops when it hits it. There is no reflection along the flat. There is no reflection at all. He picks it up. He gets a headache immediately. Not a metaphor, a real head-splitting pressure right behind his eyes that only stops when he sets the sword back down. He tries it 3 more times. Same result. Whatever the curse on this thing is, it does not like being held by anyone who isn't already half demon. He puts on a leather glove, same headache. He puts on the skeletal hand, nothing. Elder Tier Dragonbone doesn't care what curse you slap at it. Elder Tier Dragonbone eats curses for breakfast. Elder Tier Dragonbone was a category error the second Jill sank his claw into an ancient jawbone under Mount Ragna. He picks the sword up with the bone hand. He walks over to a stack of straw dummies Morrow uses to teach the shrine kids how to swing broomsticks. He sets one dummy in the middle of the courtyard. He steps back 6 paces. He takes one slow breath. He swings. The dummy does not split. The dummy stops existing. There is no explosion. There is no burst of light. There is no dust. The straw does not fall to the ground. The dummy is just gone, mid-air, with a soft snick sound like a scissor closing on nothing. Even the frame, the pole, the base, all of it. Deleted. Runa, on a bench, says quietly that they need a bigger yard. Jill agrees. He names the sword right there on the spot. Null, short for null, short for the thing this blade does to whatever it touches. He tries it on a second dummy. Same result. Except now the arm hums a small, polite bill along his ribs. A mana cost. Each swing eats a chunk of magic reserve. So Newell is a heavy weapon, not a free one. Fine, fair. Runa asks if she can try. Jill lets her. He hands her the sword. She holds it for exactly 1 second and drops it, hissing and shaking her hand out. Her palm is red. The curse tried to eat her. She glares at the blade. She glares at Jill. She informs him she is buying herself a much better sword. Jill files that under things to do when there is time. Day 2, he unpacks Hellforge. This is the skill he took off Danae's demonic axe the night he cored out that mountain of armor and left him leaking flame through his own teeth. Since then, Hellforge has been sitting in the arm like a wrapped present he hasn't had 5 minutes to open. He opens it. Turns out Hellforge is not a weapon. Hellforge is a forge. Specifically, and Jill has to sit with this for a full minute after he reads it. Hellforge is a portable, on-demand, shadow-based blacksmith rig. It builds a floating anvil out of pure compressed dark. It runs on the caster's own mana, and it can hammer any absorbed skill into a permanent physical weapon shaped to the caster's specifications. He reads it 3 times, then he takes off his cloak, rolls up his human sleeve, and calls it. Above his palm, a fold of dark unfurls itself, then another fold, then a third, layer over layer, spun like fabric, condensing down into a small black anvil the size of a stool. Fire the color of a bruise pours upward off the anvil's surface, not falling but rising, as if the flames are being pulled toward the sky by a magnet. The anvil hums softly, waiting. He tests it with a small skill. He asks the arm to hand him one basic wind cutter, the very first spell he ever borrowed from a corpse a year ago, and to hammer it into a knife shape. The anvil accepts. He feels a warm tug on his mana pool. A hammer he did not summon starts pounding on the anvil in a rhythm nobody's hand is producing. Sparks fly. 10 seconds later, a small knife slides off the edge of the anvil into his waiting palm. Weightless. Sharp. Green mist along the edge. The wind spell. Made physical, made permanent, made his. He tries it on a piece of firewood from Morrow's stack. The wood does not split. The wood is diced. 20 pieces. Clean. He looks at the knife, then at the anvil, then at Runa on the bench. He tells her, softly, that this is going to be extremely fun later. Runa gives him a look that suggests she is already writing a shopping list of custom weapons. He dismisses the anvil. It folds back down into shadow and slides into his skin. His mana pool is a little bruised, but nothing worse than a long run would leave him. He can absolutely afford to build things with this. He just needs to pick what to build first. He decides to save Hellforge for the road. He has an emperor to walk toward. That road is going to be long. He can build as he walks. Day 2 ends with Runa in the courtyard, cross-legged, hands out, generating tidy little palm plates of light and stacking them into a small shining pyramid. 6 of them, then 7, then 8. Small win. She grins to herself in a way that means she's about to try something she absolutely should not try, and Jill sighs and moves the potted plants and Morrow's laundry basket into the safer corner of the yard before she even asks. Night falls. Jill sleeps light. Runa sleeps hard. Morrow locks up the front, the middle, the back, and the side, and puts a small bowl of salt on every windowsill because Morrow is that kind of matron. Night 3 is when the hunter arrives. She does not use the door. She does not use the window. She does not even use the salt-warded roof. She uses the wine merchant's cellar wall next door, where the 2 buildings share exactly 1 meter of ancient brick, and she doesn't dig through it. She threads through it. Her skill is called silk snare. It turns her body, one part at a time, into loops of black spider silk that can pass between any 2 atoms of ordinary matter. The rest of her, the parts she isn't threading yet, waits patiently on the other side. She has been walking through walls, doors, and people her entire adult life. She has practiced this on farm animals, prisoners, and once, when she was bored, on a moving carriage without stopping it. She is the Emperor's best. She threads herself into Runa and Jill's shared room at 3 in the morning. Runa wakes first. Not because she hears the hunter, because Runa's new body has been leaking little strands of borrowed light magic in her sleep for 2 days now, a habit her spirit picked up as a ghost, that her fresh skin hasn't unlearned yet, and one of those strands brushes against something that shouldn't be in the room. The aura report comes back wrong. Runa sits up in bed with her hand already glowing and a plate half-formed. She yells. Jill hits the floor and rolls in the same motion. The hunter is already fully assembled, human-shaped, standing in the corner where the wardrobe's shadow hides her. And she throws the first cut. A single spider thread lashes across the room at Runa's wrist. Runa slaps it aside with a light plate. The plate scorches the thread. The thread rearranges around the burn and comes at her from the other side. Runa lets it come. She lets it wrap her forearm. The moment it tightens, she pushes light through it, heat traveling along the thread like fire down a fuse. The hunter yanks the thread free before the heat reaches her. She smiles. Runa has her attention. For the next full minute, Runa fights the Emperor's finest hunter alone in a 15-foot room, and she holds. Actually holds. Every drill she's done in the courtyard over the last 2 weeks pays off in real time. Plate slaps. A sunfire wall across the doorway to seal it off. 2 clean redirects of thread strikes. She even scores a hit. Burns a small hole through the hunter's shoulder that reveals more black silk underneath instead of blood. And the hunter's smile finally slips. Jill is trying to close the distance the whole time. But the hunter planned for him. Half her threads are running interference between him and Verena, a shifting curtain of black silk that redirects him every time he lunges. He can cut through it with the skeletal hand. He can burn through it with a stolen fire palm. He can't get through it fast enough. He watches Verena hold her ground, and he is proud of her and terrified for her at the same time. Then the hunter changes strategies. She stops going for Verena's body. She goes for Verena's left hand. One thread whips out of the shadow, not toward the wrist, toward the ring finger. It wraps twice. It cinches. Verena yanks. The thread does not break. It sings. Verena realizes a beat too late that this one is not the same as the others. This one has been sharpened into a wire. The wire tightens. Verena's ring finger separates from her hand in a spray of red. She screams. Jill hears the sound, and it is the worst sound of his life. He blows through the last of the interference threads with a raw burst of bone splinter nova. The entire curtain of silk shredded in one wide cone. He crosses the room in a stride and a half. The hunter is already gone. She threads herself into the floor. She threads herself into the wall. She threads herself into the ceiling. Every escape route open at once. A single loop of her, leaked out of her own severed shoulder wound, flicks out one last time before it disappears, and it does not hit Verena or Jill. It hits the plaster above the bed. Verena's finger is caught between two of the loops. When they leave, they take the finger with them. Jill lunges after the retreating strand with Newell in his skeletal hand. He unmakes a full meter of Morrow's wall trying to catch the tail of her exit. He catches nothing but air and old paint. The hunter is out, gone through the wine cellar, gone through the earth, gone through wherever her master called her home from. Written on the wall over the bed, in fresh red, in a neat curling script, are 8 words. The Emperor invites you east. Jill stares at those words. Verena is on her knees on the floor, cradling her left hand. She's not crying yet. She's staring at the space where her finger used to be. Her face has gone very quiet. Jill kneels next to her. He does not speak. He puts one arm around her shoulders. He picks up her hand with his skeletal one. Gentle, so gentle, and brings it up to eye level to look at the wound. Clean cut, cauterized by the wire. She won't bleed out. She won't lose the hand. But she has lost the finger, and the finger is in the Emperor's pocket now, and that is a message. He asks her, quietly, if she wants him to try something. She looks at him. Her eyes are red-rimmed. She says yes. He calls Reiner's supreme attachment magic, the one he used to graft her soul into Stella's body months ago. He does not have her finger. He can't attach what isn't there, so he attaches something else. He offers his own bone. Specifically, the tip of his own skeletal pinky. The bone at the end of his own ivory pinky cracks and drops off, painlessly, like a knuckle unclicking. A small pale nub floats down onto her palm. Reiner's attachment activates. The nub melts into the stump where her ring finger used to be and reshapes itself into a small, perfect, glowing white skeletal finger. She flexes it. It works. She looks at Jill. She lifts the new finger. She wiggles it in his face. Then she taps him on the nose with it. She informs him she looks metal now. He laughs. He doesn't mean to. It just comes out. Verena laughs too, tired and hollow, but she laughs. It is the 3rd worst laugh he has ever heard. He also thinks it might be the bravest. Morrow comes in with a lantern and sees the hole in the wall and the blood on the sheets and the 2 of them on the floor. She does not scream. She does not ask questions. She sets down the lantern, walks straight over, and hugs Verena without saying a single sound, because Morrow is Hana's sister, and that family knows exactly when a person needs a hug and not a sentence. When Morrow finally lets go, she stands, looks at the hole in the wall, and tells them very calmly that they cannot stay another night. The palace has investigators in every temple district. The wine merchant next door will report a broken wall by morning. Somebody in Voss livery will be at Morrow's front door before the 2nd bell. Jill nods. He was going to say the same thing. He tells Verena to pack. Verena packs with her new bone pinky on the ring hand and a light plate humming half-formed on the other, because she is not going to be caught unarmed in her life again. She takes about 4 minutes. He takes about 2. They leave through the roof at 4 in the morning. Morrow presses 2 small bundles into their hands at the last second. Bread, cheese, a wrapped sausage, a small vial of tincture, and a folded square of paper that turns out to be a name and an address in a village on the far side of the Glora border. Cousin of a cousin. Safe bed. 1 night only. Morrow hugs Jill last. She whispers into his ear that when the Emperor is dead, she wants to know first. Jill promises. He and Runa vanish into the pre-dawn streets. He walks with Newell on his hip, Hellforge unpacked in his arm, 20 new mental tags on his fresh skill library, and one specific direction blooming in his chest. He walks Runa in front of him, not behind, never behind again. Somewhere east, in a private hall lit by exactly one candle, an old man in a crown he pretends is heavy stands in front of a shape covered by a velvet cloth and runs his gloved hand across the top of it. He is humming. He is humming a lullaby. He has not decided yet whether to keep the girl's finger as a paperweight or as a soup ingredient. He decides paperweight. He is a traditionalist. 2 days on the road puts them at a checkpoint on the Nurkia border, and Runa is complaining the whole way. Not about the finger. She has decided the finger is not a topic. She is complaining about walking, about the price of a good pair of boots, about the fact that Maro's sausage tastes better than the sausage Jill bought in the last village, about the fact that her new bone pinky keeps clicking against her regular knuckles when she flexes and makes a soft little tap sound that Jill can hear a full arm's length away. He listens to all of it with a small smile. Runa complaining means Runa is still Runa. That is the whole point. If she stops complaining, that is when he starts to worry. They cross into Nurkia at noon on day 3, and Nurkia is not the Nurkia they left. The last time Jill walked these streets, half the shops had their shutters nailed shut, kids had bruises on their cheeks, and every third banner had a certain armored gorilla's face stitched into it. Now the shutters are open. Now the kids are running down the main lane with sticky fingers and painted wooden swords, shrieking about who is the map boy and who is the frozen witch. Jill hears a 5-year-old yell that he is the bone arm and jumps off a barrel to tackle his friend, and Jill's face does something complicated for half a second before he catches it. Runa is delighted. She stops one of the kids and demands to know why he isn't the frozen witch. The kid tells her, very seriously, that the frozen witch is the loser role. Runa turns to Jill with wide eyes and informs him she has been reduced to a loser role by the local children. Jill tells her she can be the bone arm next time. She thinks about it. She says maybe. They wind toward the orphanage. On the way, Jill notes 3 things. 1. The banners of the dead lord have all been taken down. In their place hang plain green cloths, Nurkia's old city color from before the war, apparently. Not a face on a single one. Somebody made a decision. Somebody said no more heroes on flags. 2. The market is running, and the prices are almost human. Bread is still expensive, but it isn't the loot the poor pricing from 3 months ago. Somebody is regulating. 3. There is a Merchants Guild sigil painted small on the corner of about half the storefronts. Not a threatening size, not a menacing color, just present, everywhere. A soft grip on the city that isn't quite a fist. Jill files that. They reach the orphanage. Same cracked wooden sign, same door with the too loud hinge. Jill knocks the same 1-2-3-2-1 rhythm he used the day he broke the beauty tax over his knee, and Hana opens the door with a wooden spoon in one hand and flour on her nose. She sees Jill. She sees Runa. She screams. Then she throws the spoon over her shoulder into the kitchen where it hits somebody who yelps in protest, wipes her hands on her apron, and drags them both into the front room by the sleeves. She is bigger than Jill remembers. Not larger, bigger. She takes up more of the room. She has that specific posture a woman gets when a lot of small children have been depending on her for a lot of small things for a long time, and she has decided she is going to be strong enough for all of them or die trying. She hugs Jill first. Sturdy, warm, smells like fresh bread and lavender oil. She holds on for exactly the right amount of time and then lets go. She turns to Runa. Runa braces. Hana does not care. Hana hugs Runa the same way she hugged Jill. Runa freezes with her arms straight down at her sides for the first full second, because being hugged by a friendly stranger who has never done a bad thing to her is a category of experience Runa's spirit didn't get before the tea, and Runa's borrowed body hasn't logged since it woke up. Then, very slowly, like she's trying to remember instructions from a manual, Runa lifts her arms and hugs Hana back. Hana pulls back and holds Runa at arm's length and tells her she has beautiful hair. Runa says thank you in the tiny, embarrassed voice of a warrior who does not have a subroutine for compliments. Jill has to look at the ceiling for a second, because if he catches Runa's eye right now he is going to laugh, and she will kick him. The kitchen smells like a small kingdom. Hana feeds them stew, bread with butter, and 3 separate pies she was making for the kids that she declares are now for the guests instead. Runa opens her mouth to protest, and Hana silences her with a look. Runa closes her mouth and eats. Between mouthfuls, Hana catches them up. Nurkia has been officially without a lord for 11 weeks. Officially. Unofficially, a merchant's guild, respectable one, not the crooked kind, has been running things through a rotating council of 5. Roads maintained, taxes fair, watch honest mostly. The bad kind of vacuum did not fill this city, because Jill did not just kill the tyrant, Jill also cut every one of the tyrant's rot teeth out of the local nobility before he left. The merchants had a chance to grow into the shape he left, but the merchants aren't going to hold. Hana says it plainly. They're not soldiers, they're money men with a nice heart. In 6 months, when the news of Voss's death and the new war reaches the caravans, somebody with a sword and no soul is going to walk into Nurkia and say hello, I am your new lord, and the merchants will bow because merchants bow. Nurkia needs a real lord. Jill nods slowly around a spoonful of stew. He asks Hana if she remembers the captain in Horus who told them about the beauty tax girls. Big scar over his left eyebrow. Career militia. Retired to the coast after the war because he couldn't stand looking at nobles anymore. Hana absolutely remembers. She fed the man for a week. She still writes him letters. He hates writing back because he thinks his handwriting is embarrassing. Jill asks for the address. Hana raises an eyebrow, gets up, and gives him the address. He tells her, casually, between 2 spoonfuls, that he's going to make the captain the new lord of Nurkia. Hana blinks. Runa grins around her bread. Hana says the captain is going to refuse. Jill says he knows. Hana says the captain is going to refuse very loudly, using words a lot of Hana's kids should not hear. Jill says he plans to insist very quietly, using logic the captain will lose. Hana thinks about this for maybe 3 seconds. Then she informs him she will pack a hamper for the trip. By evening, they are back on the road toward the coast. Hamper on Runa's shoulder, 6 pies and a jar of jam nestled between 2 clean shirts. Runa asks Jill, as they walk, if he has ever considered that he might actually enjoy politics. Jill tells her absolutely not. She informs him he just installed a lord for fun. He tells her he installed a lord for infrastructure. She tells him that is what politics is. He tells her to be quiet and eat her pie. She eats her pie. The retired captain lives in a small stone cottage on a bluff over the water. He is out front chopping wood in his shirt sleeves when they arrive. He straightens up, sees Jill, and swears so loudly a gull 200 meters out drops the fish it was carrying. He informs Jill that he had heard rumors and had been hoping the rumors were wrong. Jill tells him the rumors are correct. Also that he is now the Lord of Nurkia. The captain drops his axe. The captain says a great many things. Some of them are about Jill personally. Some of them are about Jill's ancestry. A few of them are about what the captain will do to Jill's face if Jill does not immediately walk back down the bluff and forget the address. Runa sets the hamper on the fence post and pulls up a chair from the porch. She is going to enjoy this. For 40 minutes, Jill lets the captain scream. He does not argue. He does not interrupt. He nods at appropriate intervals. He accepts a slice of pie from Hana's hamper without looking away. He waits. When the captain finally runs out of curses, he stands there panting with his hands on his knees. Jill tells him quietly that Nurkia has a merchant's council that is going to lose control by winter. He tells him about the kids in the market with painted swords. He tells him about the green cloth banners without a face on them. He tells him about Hana. He tells him about the school Hana wants to build behind the orphanage that she cannot build because there is no lord to sign the land grant. He does not raise his voice. The captain sits down hard on the woodpile and puts his face in his hands. He says a much shorter, much uglier word. He tells Jill he will do it for 1 year. Jill tells him 5. The captain tells him 2. Runa tells him 3. The captain looks at Runa, decides he does not have the energy to fight a girl with a bone finger, and says 3, fine 3, and if he dies in the 3rd year, he is going to haunt Jill personally. Runa smiles brightly at him and tells him she has done that job before and she does not recommend it. Jill claps the captain on the shoulder with his human hand, never the bone one, not to this man, and tells him the paperwork will find him within the week. Then he steals a 2nd slice of pie and walks Runa back down the bluff before the captain can change his mind. Halfway back to the road, Runa asks him if that was on the list from the start. Jill tells her no. He tells her it became the list when he saw the kids on the barrel. She looks at him sideways. She does not say anything else, but when she takes his skeletal hand a little further down the road, she squeezes it once, and she does not let go for a long time. There is one more errand in the Nurkia loop. Jill does not want to do it. Runa knows he doesn't want to do it. Neither of them mentions it out loud. They just angle south from the coast instead of east, and walk 2 more days. They arrive at Horus at dusk. Horus is quiet. The temple bell has stopped ringing, because there is no temple staff left to ring it. Ever since the Saint of Horus stopped showing up at services, and the militia found the missing girls' dresses in a mine, the town has been in the specific kind of silence that a place goes into when it is trying to forget it ever adored the wrong person. The chapel is boarded up. The market runs half full. The children play, but they play quieter. Jill and Runa slip through the town without hoods this time. Nobody looks. Nobody sees. Nobody wants to see anybody they don't already know. They reach the mine entrance at the north edge of town at full dark. The rockfall Jill sealed the chamber under is still in place. 3 meters of stone. Solid. He runs his skeletal palm along it. The stone is happy to see him. He asks it to open. It opens. He walks in alone. Runa waits at the mouth. She told him 3 villages ago she wasn't going in there. Not because she couldn't. Because she doesn't want to see her killer face to face again, even if the face is currently occupied by a stranger, and Jill respects that more than he can put in a sentence. The lamps in the tunnel are dead. He lights his own. Small blue palm light. Same trick he used the first time he came down here. The chamber is exactly as he left it. Dresses on racks. Corpses on hooks. Perfumes going stale. Ice mirror cracked. And in the far corner, in a heap of silver gown, is the husk. She is still alive, somehow. He gave her nothing to live on when he sealed the room 3 months ago. No food, no water. But the drained life force he sucked out of her only took what was borrowed. What she had before the beauty tax started, what her real body ran on, is still ticking somewhere deep in her 90-year-old ribs. She looks up when he walks in. She squints. Her eyes don't focus. She doesn't recognize him. She smiles. Small and pleased and empty, she asks him if he is her new admirer. Jill closes his eyes for a second. Just a second. He was ready for anger. He was ready for a curse. He was ready for her to spit at him and rasp threats she couldn't back up. He was not ready for this. He tells her, gently, that he is not. She looks disappointed. She turns back to the mirror. She resumes talking to it. She calls the reflection pretty. She asks the reflection to marry her. She giggles. Jill stands there in the doorway for a long minute. He thinks about draining the last of her life force. It would be clean. She would not feel it. She has felt very little for months. He thinks about unmaking her with Newell, cleaner still, one swing, no body, no trace. He thinks about walking out and resealing the room and letting starvation finish what he started. Then he thinks about the woman who smiled at him in Dennis Forest. The one who stitched his ribs in the rain. The one whose face he memorized for warmth. That woman is dead. She was dead the day she raised a finger over a cliff. What is in this room now is what happens when a person spends 2 years drinking other people's youth to hide from herself. It is a punishment. It is a punishment she designed personally, one girl at a time, and the universe just handed her the bill. He walks over. He gently takes her hand. He helps her stand. She giggles again and asks if he is going to take her to the ball. He tells her he is going to take her outside. He walks her out of the mine on his arm, like an escort at a real ball. He walks her past Runa, who takes one look at the empty, smiling husk and steps aside and says absolutely nothing. He walks her out of Horus, along the north road, into the forest at the edge of town, to a small clearing under a birch tree. He sets her gently down against the trunk. She smiles up at him. She tells him he is a nice young man. He tells her he is not. He turns away. He walks back down the road. He does not look back. Runa is waiting for him at the road bend. She does not ask. She just falls in step beside him and takes his human hand. They walk in silence for a good hour. Finally, Runa asks him if he thinks it was cruel. He tells her yes. She asks him if he thinks it was fair. He tells her yes. She squeezes his hand. She tells him she agrees. They keep walking. The road east from Horus is not a good road. Not in the way the caravan road out of Nurkia was a good road. This is the kind of road that runs through 3 abandoned villages, over 1 collapsed bridge, and past 2 spots where the ferns grow in the very specific way that means somebody was murdered there recently, and nothing has come to bury the body. It is the shortcut to Mount Ragna. It is a shortcut for a reason. 2 days out from Horus, they walk into a village that looks alive, which is strange, given the villages before it. Smoke from 3 chimneys, chickens in the road, a woman drawing water from a well in the little square, humming to herself. Runa stops at the edge of the tree line, because Runa has been on the road 100 years, first as a hero, then as a ghost drifting through the dreams of the dying. And Runa has an excellent sense for when a village is one shade too still. She tells Jill something is off. Jill agrees. He can smell it. The village smells like a village. It smells too much like a village. Bread, wet hay, a whiff of horse, somebody's cooking fire. All of it, at once, in exactly the ratios a village should smell like, all pushed slightly too strong on the wind. The way an actor delivers a line too clearly, he whispers to Runa to fall in behind him. They walk into the square anyway, because if this is a trap, standing at the tree line staring at it is not going to disarm it. Better to walk in ready than get flanked in the underbrush. The woman at the well straightens up as they approach. She smiles. She has a face that is only ever seen on posters recruiting people to farms. She invites them to drink from the well. She tells them the water is very good. Jill smiles back. He tells her he is happy to. Then he flicks a single mote of spirit light out of his sleeve, drops it into the well, and asks it to tell him what is at the bottom. The spirit floats back up in 3 seconds looking sick. At the bottom of the well is a pile of villagers, 6 or 7, all fresh, all bled out into the water, all wearing the exact clothes of the woman standing at the wellhead. Jill's smile does not change. He tells the woman thank you, but he is not thirsty. The woman's smile also does not change. She tells him that is a shame. Then everything in the square changes. The chicken by the fence is not a chicken. It unfolds itself into a hunched, red-eyed, lower-tier demon with matted feathers and hands where its wings should be. The horse tied to the post is not a horse. It stretches upward into 2 meters of black-skinned muscle with a smile that opens on the side of its neck. The woman at the well drops the bucket. Her skin peels back off her face in one clean sheet like the wrapper off a candy, and the thing underneath is Gastra. Different Gastra than last time. Half his face is scar tissue now. Jill's light blade souvenir. His skin is dry. His golden eyes are dull. He is not the smiling seducer from Jury's cave anymore. He is a wounded, angry, careful animal. He tells Jill, in a voice that is thinner than it used to be, that he has been waiting 3 days. Jill tells him he is flattered. Gastra tells him not to be. He is not here for a conversation. He is here to finish what he started under Horus. Jill flicks his cloak back and drops his hand to Null's grip. Runa steps sideways out of his shadow into her own stance, palm up, sunfire already forming. The 2 lower demons peel off from Gastra and go for Runa. That is not smart of them. Gastra told them Runa is the priority target and to keep her busy. They interpreted busy as easy. They are about to receive a corrective lesson. The first lower demon, the chicken thing, lunges at Runa with its hand wings splayed out. It has a black stinger where its beak should be, and the stinger is dripping something the color of tar. It comes in fast, low, at her stomach. Runa does not step back. Runa forms a full sunfire wall, not a plate, a wall, 3 meters across, 2 meters tall, humming solid white, the same technique she was still bruising her palms on in Maro's courtyard 3 weeks ago. The demon slams into the wall face first at full sprint and cooks against it in a shower of feather ash and screaming. The second demon, the horse thing, is smarter. It circles around the wall from the left. Runa hears it coming, drops the wall, and rotates on the balls of her feet like the ballet instructor Senna hasn't yet taught her existed. She forms a spinning double plate in each palm and throws one. The plate cuts through the demon's shoulder and shears its right arm off at the joint. The demon staggers. Runa closes distance. She stabs the second plate straight into the neck mouth. Sunfire pours down its throat. It falls, 2 down, 10 seconds. Runa stands over the second body, breathing hard, and turns to Jill with an expression that is half feral and half proud. Jill wants to applaud. He doesn't have time. Gastra is coming. Gastra has learned. He is not opening with matter erasure this time. He is opening with a swarm of shadow tendrils out of his own coat, 12 of them, each with a mouth on the end. They spread out and come at Jill in a coordinated grid. No single point to block, no single line to cut. Very smart. Very Gastra. Jill draws Null. He does not swing it in the wide sweeping arcs he practiced in Maro's yard. He swings it in tiny, tight economical cuts, because Null does not need force. Null only needs contact. He unmakes a tendril. Then he unmakes the tendril next to it. Then he pivots on one heel and unmakes 3 at once. Every tendril he touches stops existing. Gastra loses parts of his coat. Parts of the shadow magic embedded in the coat. Parts, based on his flinch, of his own reserve. He is bleeding mana into the void because Null does not distinguish between weapons, matter, and magic. Null says no. Gastra rethinks. Fast. He backs up. He raises both hands. And out of his palms comes the same matter-erasing cloud that almost deleted Runa in Horus. He fires it at Jill point blank. Jill raises Null, expecting to have to unmake the cloud as it comes, and the cloud parts around Null. Not because of Jill, because of Null. Null is a null blade. Null is by definition the negation of a thing. The matter erasure spell is by definition the negation of matter. 2 negations do not add, they cancel. The cloud slides around Null like water around a rock and hits the wall of the well house behind Jill and erases about a quarter of the roof. Jill himself is untouched. Gastra sees the cloud fail. His golden eyes go wide. Jill grins. Gastra dives sideways to reset. He casts a shadow-slit portal at his feet to escape. The portal opens. Jill has been waiting for this exact move. Jill closes the distance in 3 long steps, mighty arm boosted, faster than the eye, and slams Null flat through the portal itself. The portal unmakes. Gastra falls 2 feet through the ghost of a portal that no longer exists, hits the cobblestones, and looks up at Jill with the specific expression of a man who has just realized he brought a knife to a knife-erasing fight. He tries one last thing. He rolls to his side, rips a small crystal out of an inner pocket of his coat, and smashes it against the ground. The crystal explodes into a compressed pulse of pure demonic essence, an emergency panic teleport keyed to the deepest safe house he has left. The pulse fizzes and dies. Because Null is still floating an inch above the cobblestones, and Null is still saying no. Gastra sits back on his heels and starts laughing. It is a very tired laugh. It is the laugh of a con man who has been outplayed and is trying to enjoy the last minute of the game. Jill lowers Null. He walks up to Gastra. He crouches down. He tells Gastra that he has 3 questions. Gastra tells him he expected as much. Jill asks him, 1, where the 3rd shard actually sits inside Viserion. Under the skin, in the chest, in the throat. He needs the specific vessel location so he can cut clean if Viserion is armored. Gastra tells him, between the collarbones, in a small pocket of demon flesh grown specifically to house the shard, connected to Viserion's own spinal column. To take it out, you have to sever the connection first. Otherwise the shard pulls itself back into Viserion mid-absorption. Jill files that. He asks, 2, what the 4th shard is inside. Object type, any hints? Gastra tells him he does not know for certain. Viserion never told him, but he has heard the Emperor call it his heirloom, and he has heard Viserion refer to it as heavy. Heirloom, heavy. Jill files that too. He has a strong guess, and he is going to hold it until he gets a look at it. He asks, 3, who is above Viserion in the demon hierarchy? Who is the smiling one that came through the rift? Gastra's laughing stops. He tells Jill, very quietly, that the smiling one is called Malith. He tells Jill that Malith is one of the 7 demon lords. He tells Jill that Malith is not the strongest of the 7, but he is by a comfortable margin the meanest. He tells Jill that Malith is the one who invented the matter erasure spell Gastra just tried to use, and that Malith uses it on his own subordinates when they underperform. Jill nods slowly. He tells Gastra thank you. Gastra tells Jill to make it quick. Jill puts his bone hand on Gastra's forehead. He absorbs. The skills pour in. Matter erasure shards. Shadow slit teleport. A whole subcategory called demonic diplomacy that Jill will not open until he has coffee. Body mimic. The peel off my face trick. A defensive skill called blood silence that hides the caster's aura from all detection. And, at the very bottom of the pile, the prize. Demon sight. Range, continental. Effect, shows the caster the location of every meaningful concentration of demonic energy within that range. Gastra's body slumps sideways off Jill's hand. Empty husk. Dust in a coat. Jill stands. He wipes the bone hand on his cloak. Runa is at his shoulder before he turns fully around. She asks him if it worked. He tells her yes. She asks him if the prize was worth the trip. He tells her he is about to find out. He closes his eyes. he calls demon sight. The world behind his eyelids goes gray. Across the gray, in his mind, red dots bloom. To the east, past the border of Glora, past a wide stretch of plains, a bright red concentration hums slow and steady in the shape of a city, the capital of the Grand Empire, where the fourth shard sleeps in something the Emperor calls an heirloom. Slightly further east than the capital, a second red dot pulses more urgently, moving, walking, breathing. That is Viserion. That is the third shard, going about the priest's business somewhere in the Empire's temple district. And then, at the very back of the map, on the far side of the Empire, tucked under a mountain range that is not Ragna and not on any map Jill has ever seen printed, is a red mass so big that his mental compass wobbles when he tries to look at it. Malith, the demon lord. Sitting in his mountain like a very patient spider, Jill opens his eyes. His head is bleeding, small trickle from his left nostril. Demon sight is not a cheap skill. Runa hands him a cloth. He tells her, in a rough voice, that they have their map. He tells her Viserion is roughly 2 weeks east on foot. He tells her the Emperor's heirloom is in the palace roughly 3 weeks east. He tells her that Malith the Demon Lord is under a mountain further out, and Jill is not going anywhere near Malith's mountain until his bone arm is at least a shoulder blade long. Runa considers this. She says fair. She says one more thing. She tells him she wants to go back to Mount Ragna first, because if they are walking into the Emperor's front door in 3 weeks, the arm needs everything the arm can get, and there is still an elder dragon's heart under Ragna that Jill only sipped from before. Jill looks at her. He tells her the heart nearly killed him last time. She tells him she is here this time. He tells her it is dangerous even with her. She tells him she trained for this. She tells him she has been practicing anchor weave in her sleep. She tells him she has a whole new light magic technique she has been saving for exactly this trip, a technique she calls the cocoon, and she has been building it in her palm for 3 straight weeks whenever he was not looking. He raises an eyebrow at her. She smiles. The kind of smile Runa gives right before she is very right about something and enjoys being right. He tells her fine. They walk to Mount Ragna in 4 days. The mountain hums under their boots as they approach. It always hums. Jill assumed for a long time that the humming was just Ragna being a big rock full of magic. He now knows the humming is the elder's slow, sleeping heartbeat, 30 beats to a night, from a heart the size of a fist, buried a mile down under 300 meters of Jill's own layered earth magic. The heart is quiet, but the heart is very much still there. He unlocks the outer chamber first. Earth magic peels the rock back like curtains. He and Runa step down through the wyvern nest, through the collapsed fire chamber, down the shaft, past the cavern with the elder's exposed skull and jaw, deeper than they went last time. He unlocks the second seal, then the third, then the fourth, layer by layer. Each seal was designed to hold for 1,000 years against anyone but him. He walks through them like doors in his own house. They reach the heart chamber at midnight. The heart is floating exactly where he left it, fist-sized, pale rose in the low light. Its glow is very faint. Its rhythm is very slow. It is not going to fight him. He sang it to sleep with a lullaby a season ago, and it has been enjoying the nap. Runa sits down in the middle of the chamber. She rolls up her sleeves. She takes a long breath. She tells Jill to come here. He walks over. She holds up both hands. She weaves. Sena is going to teach her better light magic in a week or so. Sena, who neither of them has met yet. Sena, who will not survive the next month. Sena will teach Runa things that Runa will never forget. But Runa is not waiting for Sena. Runa has been working on this technique alone. Between her hands, a small ball of white gold light appears. Then a second one. She stacks them. Then a third. She weaves the balls together with tiny threads of light, like a spider building a web out of sunlight. In under a minute, she has a cocoon-shaped mesh of light hovering above her palms, the exact size and shape of one Jill. She tells him to step inside. He steps inside. The cocoon closes around him. It is warm. It hums against his skin. It does not hurt. It anchors. She tells him she can hold him inside this for 4 minutes at most. Any longer and her heart may stop. She tells him he has 4 minutes to eat the heart. Lactating 4. She tells him if he takes longer than 4 minutes, she will kill him personally after Malith is done trying. He tells her 4 minutes is fine. He walks the cocoon over to the floating heart. He puts his skeletal hand on it. He begins. He goes slow this time. Deliberate. Not the panic chug from his first Ragna visit. He opens the connection a hair at a time, and lets the ocean pour into a controlled pipe. The elder speaks to him. It is not really speaking, it is a memory flood, aged 12,000 years, arranged not chronologically but by importance. The heart remembers big things first. The elder's own hatching, a war older than any human writing, 100 years spent as a mountain hopper burning down forests to make room for eggs. A love, yes, an actual love. Another elder, silver and green, who died. The mourning. The long, quiet migration to what would eventually become Ragna. And then the last day. Jill sees it clearly. A slim figure walking up the elder's flank in the sunlight. Diamond-shaped pupils. A smile that is almost pretty. A robe embroidered with silver runes that shift on their own. Viserion. 10,000 years ago. The elder, who Jill only saw as an already dying god corpse the first time he was down here, sees the slim, smiling figure and does something Jill does not expect. The elder bows its head. In the memory, the elder recognizes the visitor. Then the elder dies. That is all Jill gets of the last day. The memory camera cuts hard. But the elder recognized Viserion, and Viserion, 10,000 years ago, wore the exact face he wears today. Jill files the biggest possible file cabinet in his mind under this one and moves on, because the memory flood is not done. There is still 4 minutes of history left to pour into him, and the elder is now handing him something else. Skills. Not the 2,000 skills he already grabbed off the outer bones last time. Deeper skills. The ones that lived inside the heart alone. Timekeeping tier skills, naming tier skills, weight tier skills, elder language commands that will not translate cleanly into human tongue at all. They arrive in Jill's mind as sensations, as tastes, as sudden knowings. One skill unfolds itself and Jill actually gasps inside the cocoon. Elder voice. Effect. User speaks any command in the elder draconic tongue and any lesser demonic being within earshot will obey the command once per encounter. No daily limit, no per target limit, only per encounter. Jill sits with this for a full 6 seconds. He is looking at the anti-Malith key. He is looking at the anti-Viserion key. He is looking at the reason he came down here. His arm hums pleasure. Warm agreement. Elder voice is the arm's favorite acquisition of Jill's career, and the arm is not shy about telling him. Runa's cocoon flickers. He hears her, faint, through the light mesh, telling him he has 1 minute. He pushes the connection wider. He pulls the last of the useful heart data, not the personal memories anymore. He is not going to eat this dragon's love story. He takes what is combat. He takes what is defensive. He takes what is elder tier speech. Everything else he lets go, and the elder's dying awareness, whatever tiny embers of it are still in the heart, seems, if anything, grateful. He removes his hand from the heart. The heart pulses once, twice. It goes back to sleep. He steps out of the cocoon. Runa releases the weave. The cocoon dissolves into little motes of light. Runa staggers sideways. Her nose is bleeding. Her ears are bleeding. She has a small cut on her lip from biting through it during the last 30 seconds. Jill catches her before she hits the floor. She looks up at him. She smiles a shaky, exhausted smile. She informs him her personal fee for that trick is a very nice dinner, an actual mattress, and 1 full day where he does not ask her to hold anything with light in it. He tells her done. She passes out. He carries her up out of the mountain. At the top, at the mouth of the wyvern nest, he pauses. He sets her down against the wall. He rolls his own shoulder and looks at his arm. The bone hand is not just a hand anymore. Through the skin of his forearm he can see the ivory now, creeping up past the elbow in a lace-like pattern that was not there yesterday. Along his upper arm, faint bone lattice work embedded in the muscle. Up over the shoulder, a thin ivory line curling along his collarbone, 1/2 inch long, glowing very faintly. He is becoming the dragon in small increments. He does not tell Runa yet. She is asleep. He does not want to burden her with a timer she cannot help him beat. He seals the mountain behind them, layer by layer. 6 seals now, not 4. The heart stays where the heart lives. He picks Runa up. He carries her down the slope in the pre-dawn cold. Somewhere below them, on the road east, a border town called Carcassine waits with its cold blue mage lights and its polished obsidian gates, and its citizens, who all wear thin metal collars, and among those citizens there is a blacksmith's daughter named Senna, who has not yet had her worst day. Somewhere further east, in the imperial cathedral of the Grand Empire, a slim priest with diamond pupils lights a candle and hums a hymn he learned 9,000 years ago. Somewhere further east still, a very old man in a heavy crown stands alone in a dark hall, and pets a shape under velvet cloth and hums a lullaby. And somewhere, in a private room lit by one candle, a very patient spider-woman is threading a fresh loop through her own thigh, humming the same lullaby, in the same key. The border of the Grand Empire does not look like a border. Borders in Jill's experience are wooden posts and board guards and a rope stretched across a dirt road. This border is a wall, 3 stories tall, black stone, cut so smooth Jill can see his own reflection in the base as he walks up to it. No banners, no color at all, just a single arch cut into the middle of the wall with 2 guards under it, and even the guards are wearing black. Even the horses tied at the guard post are black. Somebody in the Grand Empire made a decision about aesthetics a long time ago, and everybody after them was too scared to argue. Verena mutters that this is the ugliest country she has ever tried to walk into. Jill agrees. He pulls his hood a little further down. They are not walking as themselves today. Verena's face is a wanted face in Glora, and Glora's warrants get honored in the Empire on principle. They are walking as a pair of textile merchants from a small kingdom on the northern coast that Jill has been to exactly once and Verena has never heard of. Their story is thin. Their papers are excellent. Maro's cousin does very good work, and the cousin's counterpart in Nurkia's Merchants Guild did the second set for free once she heard whose papers they were. Jill has a small bolt of green wool under his arm as a prop. The prop is important. The prop is what sells the story. They join the line at the arch. The line moves fast. Not because the guards are efficient, because the guards are terrifying. Every person ahead of Jill walks up to the arch, holds out their wrist, gets scanned by a rune plate the left-hand guard is holding, and is either waved through or is not waved through. Nobody argues, nobody asks questions. One old man ahead of them fails the scan, and the guards do not draw weapons. They simply nod at him, and he turns around, sits down in the dust off to the side of the road, and starts crying. He does not try to run. He knows better. Jill watches this. He tells Verena, very quietly, that they should absolutely not fail the scan. Verena asks him, also very quietly, what happens if they fail the scan? Jill tells her he does not know, but the old man's face has him voting hard against finding out. Their turn. Jill steps up first. He offers his wrist to the rune plate. The plate is a flat disc of dark iron with a single curl of golden script inscribed into the center. The guard holds it against Jill's forearm. Human arm, thankfully, because Jill has his skeletal one tucked into a merchant's sleeve wrap, and the plate warms. It hums a low note. It does not glow, because there is no rune on Jill's skin for it to talk to. It is looking for a compliance rune, per the Emperor's law, and it does not find one. The guard glances at Jill. He does not look alarmed. He looks bored. He asks Jill his kingdom of origin. Jill gives the name of the Northern Coast Kingdom. The guard makes a mark on a small ledger. He tells Jill that unrunned foreigners are welcome, but that Jill will be issued a temporary compliance rune at the Customs House 1 street inside the gate, to be worn for the duration of Jill's stay in the Empire. Removal of the rune at any time is punishable by death. Failure to reach the Customs House within 4 hours of entry is punishable by death. The guard says all of this at the tone of someone reading the closing hours of a bakery. Jill says he understands. The guard waves him through. Verena gets the same speech, verbatim. She agrees with her best merchant's smile. She gets waved through. They walk under the arch together and into the first street of Carcassine, the border town of the Grand Empire. Carcassine is a city that does not know how to be at ease. The street inside the wall is wide and clean and lined with dark stone buildings, and there are more people walking on it than Jill would expect for a border town at midday. What Jill does not see, in 20 full seconds of watching, is a single one of them smile. Not a merchant selling. Not a mother carrying. Not a child eating a piece of fruit. The children in Carcassine walk quietly, close to their parents, with their eyes down. The adults walk fast, on purpose, not looking at anyone else. Everyone above the age of 7 has a thin metal band around their neck. Not a heavy collar. Not chains. Something the width of a woman's ring, wrapped around the throat, closed with a small dark stone under the chin. Every band has a single rune etched into the front. Every rune is a slightly different curl of the same base symbol. Every rune is glowing a faint, cold blue. Verena notices the collars in the first 3 seconds. She does not react. She has been alive as a hero, dead as a ghost, and alive again as a redhead in an empire that scares her, and her poker face is now excellent. She tells Jill, without moving her mouth much, that this is much worse than she thought. He tells her, without moving his mouth much, that they are going straight to the customs house, and then they are finding a room, and then they are figuring this out. They do exactly that. The customs house is one street in from the gate, exactly as promised. A short, blocky building with a single black lacquered door. Inside is a queue and a bureaucrat behind a desk. The queue moves. When it is Jill's turn, the bureaucrat, without looking up from her paperwork, tells him to place his forearm on the counter. Jill places his forearm on the counter. She picks up a small stylus with a warm golden tip and, without asking his name or looking at his face, draws a rune onto his skin. The rune settles into him, not on top of his skin, into it. A cold blue glow flares once, and then dims to the same soft ambient hum every other citizen is wearing. She then presses a metal band around his neck. It closes. It seals. She tells him this rune is temporary, keyed to expire in 14 days, and that the rune's compliance protocol is currently set at travel-visitor level, which means it will only activate on him if he commits a major crime. He asks her, casually, what a major crime is. She still does not look up. She tells him that all crimes are major. He tells her he understands. Runa gets her rune the same way. The bureaucrat treats them both like a pair of parcels. They step outside into the cold blue afternoon of Carcassonne with matching collars around their necks and matching invisible tags under their skin, and Runa says, in Jill's ear, that if the Emperor can kill her with a thought, she wants a plan for that within the hour. Jill tells her he is already working on it. They find a rooming house in the merchant's quarter. Modest, clean, nobody smiles at them at check-in. Jill pays in silver. The proprietor gives him a key and asks him no questions. They go up to the room. Jill locks the door. He walks straight to the window and closes the shutters. Then he sits down on the bed, takes off his sleeve wrap, and holds the bone hand up to the compliance rune under his skin. He tries to absorb it. The bone hand hums, curious. It touches the rune. It reads the rune. It reports back that the rune is not a self-contained skill. The rune is a receiver. The rune is passive. The rune is doing exactly nothing until it receives a signal from somewhere else, at which point it will do exactly one thing: kill Jill from the inside. Which means Jill cannot deactivate the rune from his end. He can only deactivate the source. The source is the palace 3 weeks east. He tells Runa. Her face does the thing where she does not react to bad news out loud, but he can see her jaw tighten. She asks him if the arm can eat the rune off her skin. He tells her he can try, but he suspects the same result. He tries. Same result. Her rune is a receiver too. Her rune is not going anywhere until the palace is done. Runa lies back on the bed and stares up at the ceiling. She informs Jill quietly that she does not enjoy being on a leash. Jill agrees. He also lies back on the bed. They stare at the ceiling together for maybe 2 full minutes. Then Jill sits up. He tells her they are going out. He needs to find, in this order, an unrun local, a source of gossip, and dinner. He does not know how to find the first one, so he is going to have to find the third one and hope the second one is at the restaurant. Runa gets up. She informs him this is why he needs her. She is right. Runa, for reasons Jill has never quite understood but has learned to trust, is much better at finding gossip than he is. Runa can walk into a place with 15 strangers and know within 10 minutes which one of them is sleeping with which other one, and which 2 of them think the third one is a snitch. It is a hero of old Glora skill. Runa was a spy master on the side, apparently, in a past life. They find a small food house 3 streets deeper into the city. The kind of place with soup and dark bread and a fire in the corner. They order a lot of soup, because they haven't eaten a hot meal since Nurkia, and Runa is very insistent on it. Runa spends 40 minutes learning things. She learns that Carcassonne's compliance runes are indeed all keyed to the same palace source. She learns that the palace source has never once failed. She learns that in living memory, 3 separate men and 1 woman have attempted to remove their own collars in Carcassonne, and all 4 of them were killed by their own runes in the middle of public streets before they could even finish the removal. She learns that this is why nobody in the Empire tries anymore. She also learns something Jill did not know to ask about. She learns about the blacksmith's daughter. 2 tables away, a pair of older women are talking, low but not that low, about the girl who runs the forge on Chandler Street. The girl who took over when her father's hand went bad 2 winters ago. The girl who is running the shop by herself now that her father can't lift a hammer, doing the work of 2 full-grown smiths. and doing it well enough that the guard captain is giving her the imperial commissions because she is charging fair. The girl who, one of the women mentions, in a voice pitched even lower, is missing a compliance rune. The other woman shushes her sharply. Runa's ears prick. She waits. She sips her soup. She waits. The two women change topics. Then they change back. Then the first one, 3 minutes later, mentions again, this time in a whisper, that the blacksmith girl's mother hid her at birth, that the runing officer never came for her at age 7, that her father has been paying somebody, quietly, for 11 years to keep her name off the census, that the mother died of the effort, that the daughter is now walking around Carcassine free of the leash, and nobody has caught it yet. The women change topics again, more firmly this time. Runa turns to Jill. She tells him she has their first stop. They find the forge on Chandler Street. It is a small shop wedged between a butcher's and a candle maker's. The front doors are open despite the cold, because the forge inside is hot enough to warm the whole block. A hammer is ringing steady, in and out of rhythm. That is a person who has been swinging that hammer since they were small. Jill and Runa step in. The girl at the anvil straightens up. She is not tall, she is not big. She has the shoulders of a person who has been working iron since she was 12. Her hair is tied up in a red scarf. Her forearms are streaked with soot. She has a wide, slightly crooked nose that has been broken once and not set well. She is maybe 19. She has no metal collar around her neck. She looks up. She sees Jill. She sees Jill's skeletal hand. He did not bother wrapping it in this shop. Some instinct told him not to. And she looks at the bone for maybe 2 seconds. She does not startle. She does not gasp. She does not step back. She sets down her hammer. She wipes her forearm with a rag. She asks Jill, in a voice that is level and dry, if he is here for a weapon. Jill tells her he is here for a conversation first, but weapons after. She looks at him a long moment, then she looks at Runa. Then she looks at Runa's small skeletal pinky where it rests on Runa's other hand. She does not startle at that either. She tells them her name is Sena. She tells them the shop is closed for the afternoon. She walks over to the front doors and swings them shut and drops a beam across the inside, because Sena has been waiting a long time to talk to somebody who walks around with a bone hand and a skeletal pinky, and Sena is not going to have that conversation with the door open. She turns back to them. She tells Jill, with no wind-up at all, that if he is who she thinks he is very late. Runa asks who she thinks he is. Sena tells them, without smiling, that Carcassone's underground has been passing around a story from Glora for 2 months about a wanted boy with a bone arm who killed 3 heroes and a lord and toppled a first sword. She tells them the story is annoyingly detailed. She tells them the resistance took bets on when he would show up here. She tells them she lost 20 coppers because she bet on last week. Runa likes her instantly. Jill can see it in Runa's face. That specific Runa smile that means she has identified a new favorite person. Jill tells Sena, carefully, that they are here because they were told the Empire has a resistance, and because he needs to speak to it. Sena tells him he is speaking to it. He raises an eyebrow. She tells him she is not the leader. She is not even close to the leader. But she is one of exactly 42 unrunned people currently in the Empire, and every one of the 42 is on call for exactly this kind of guest. He asks her, with real curiosity, why she is on call. She tells him her father was a smith and her mother was a librarian, and between them they raised a girl who could keep a secret and swing a hammer, and that is a rare pair. She tells him she also has a specific reason to want the Emperor dead, but she does not owe him the story of that reason yet. Jill tells her fair. He tells her, next, what he needs. He needs an understanding of the sanction rune system, because he has 2 of them installed and he does not enjoy it. He needs a location on the priest Viserion, because he has business with him. He needs a way into the palace, eventually, though not today. And he needs somewhere safe to sleep and to work while he plans, because the rooming house near the border gate is going to notice, in about 3 days, that its 2 textile merchants have never once tried to sell a bolt of anything. Sane listens through all of it without moving. When he is done, she says one word, follow. She leads them out the back of the forge, through a small courtyard full of scrap iron, into a low door in the courtyard wall, down a narrow flight of stone steps he did not know was there, and into a room the size of a small chapel, lit by a dozen oil lamps, filled with maps, weapons, one very large chalkboard, with the entire compliance rune diagram drawn on it in white chalk, and about 11 people who look up when the 3 of them walk in. The 11 people are of every age. There is a boy who cannot be more than 15. There is a woman with white hair. There is a tall man with a red beard and no left hand. There is a slender woman in the far corner sitting on a stool with her back to the door, reading a book. None of them have collars. The boy at the front stands up. He is going to say something. The white-haired woman puts one hand on his shoulder and gently sits him back down. She stands up herself. She takes one long, unhurried look at Jill. She takes one at Runa. She lands on Runa's skeletal pinky and stays there for 2 beats. She tells them her name is Kola. She tells them she leads what small resistance the Grand Empire has. She tells them the resistance has been waiting for someone with Jill's toolset for 2 centuries, and Jill is welcome to as much bread as he can eat. Sina, behind Jill, mutters that Kola always opens with the bread thing. Jill turns his head slightly, sees Senna's small, dry grin, and Jill likes her too now. There it is. Kola walks them over to the chalkboard. She spends an hour explaining the sanction. The compliance rune, she says, is not a modern invention. It is 900 years old. It was originally designed by the first emperor of the Grand Empire, who used it to bind the loyalty of a rebellious general's troops. Over the centuries, successive emperors refined it. It became the standard. It became the law. By the reign of the 4th emperor, the rune was mandatory at age 7 for every citizen of the empire. By the reign of the 6th, refusal was made punishable by death, which is a strange sentence to enforce on someone who does not have the killing rune yet, but the empire found ways. The rune, when triggered, does not use force or fire or poison. It uses stopping. It simply tells the wearer's heart, in a language the heart cannot argue with, to stop. There is no wound. There is no scream. There is a pause, and then the wearer falls over, and then the wearer does not get up. The rune is centrally powered. The power source is in the palace. Nobody knows exactly what the power source is. It has been called the Emperor's Heirloom for 200 years. That is the only name anyone has for it. Jill's ear catches on the word heirloom. He does not react outwardly. He remembers Gastra's answer under Nurkia. Heirloom, heavy. The 4th Valzard shard is inside the Emperor's Heirloom. The Emperor's Heirloom is powering the rune system that kills people from the inside, which means the 4th Valzard shard is currently killing people from the inside on the Emperor's behalf. Every disobedience death in the Empire, for 200 years, has been fed to the shard. Jill's stomach does a slow, cold turn. He asks Kola, carefully, if she has any idea what the heirloom actually looks like. Kola tells him no. She tells him nobody in the Resistance's records has ever seen it and lived. But every emperor for 2 centuries has worn it publicly. It is described in old accounts as a jewel, sometimes a scepter, sometimes a crown. Jill files that. He asks Kola if there is any way to sever a person's rune from the source at the wearer's end. Kola's face changes. She tells him the Resistance has been trying for 2 centuries. Nothing has worked. Every attempt kills the wearer. Jill tells her he thinks he can do it. Kola stops. The whole room stops. Every person in the room, including the woman on the stool who has not turned around, goes still. Jill tells them he does not want to promise before he tests it, but he has been eating skills off dead things for a year now, and he ate the whole rune structure off his own arm this morning. He understands the rune. He does not understand it well enough yet to safely disconnect it in a living person, but he thinks he will, in time. Kola tells him, in a voice that has gone very quiet, that if he can do that, the Resistance is his. Jill tells her he does not need the Resistance. He needs 3 things: a safe place for 2 weeks, a quiet route to Viserion when he asks for one, and, when the war moves to the palace, the Resistance ready to move with him. Kola tells him all 3. Done. She then, in the same breath, adds that in exchange she has one favor. Jill braces. She points at Sina. She tells Jill that Sina has been asking for a year for permission to leave Carcassonne on her own errand, and Kola has been telling her no, because Sina is one of the Resistance's most valuable smiths, and the Resistance cannot afford to lose her. But if Jill is here, and if Jill's business is going to move fast, then Kola wants Jill to take Sina with him, because if Jill is going to Viserion, then Sina's business happens to sit on the same road. Jill glances at Sina. Sina tells him her mother is buried in the Imperial Temple District. Under a false name, because Senna's mother was killed by her own compliance rune 11 years ago, on the orders of the previous emperor, for the crime of hiding her own daughter's identity. Senna has never been able to visit the grave. Senna wants to visit the grave. Sina would like Jill to escort her, because a girl with no compliance rune walking into the Imperial Temple District alone is a girl who does not walk out. Jill looks at Sina for a long moment. He tells her yes. Runa, next to him, looks between Sina and Jill. Runa also tells Sina yes. Twice. In a warm voice that is not one of Runa's usual voices, and that makes Jill glance at her sideways, because he is not sure he has heard that voice out of Runa before. Senna's face does not change much. She is not much of a smiler, but something in her jaw softens. She tells them both thank you. That night, Jill and Runa sleep in the basement room next to Cola's chalkboard. They sleep on cots. They sleep in their clothes. Senna sleeps on the cot across from them, and does not seem to mind having strangers within arm's reach, which tells Jill more about Senna than any other thing so far. He wakes before the others in the morning. He walks up to the forge quietly and sits on a workbench and lets his skeletal arm hum and think while the empire outside slowly turns on its noise. He decides 3 more things in that quiet hour. 1. He is going to end the rune system before he leaves this country. Not because the resistance asked, because Sina's mother is under a fake name. 2. He is not going to tell Runa about the ivory creeping past his collarbone yet, not until he has a better sense of the timer. 3. He is going to eat Viserion before he touches the palace, because Viserion is going to try to talk him into something, and Viserion is very good at talking, and the safest way for Jill to make sure Viserion does not talk him into anything is to eat him before he starts. Senna comes up from the basement an hour later carrying 2 mugs of tea. She hands him one. She sits on the workbench next to him. She does not say anything for a good 10 minutes. She just drinks tea with him and watches the forge come up to temperature. Then she asks him, without looking at him, if the bone hand hurts. He tells her no. He tells her it hums a lot. He tells her sometimes it gets hungry. She nods slowly. She tells him she has been building a hammer for him for 4 days. He turns his head. She tells him she started the hammer the moment Cola told her the boy with the bone arm might be coming through. She tells him she was going to give it to him as a bribe to take her to her mother's grave, but now that he has already agreed, she is going to give it to him anyway, because a hammer is not a gift a smith takes back. She stands up. She walks to the back of the forge. She lifts something off a shelf under a piece of black cloth and brings it over. She hands him the hammer. It is not a war hammer. It is not a battle hammer. It is a smith's hammer. Ivory handled. Head the size of Jill's fist. Perfectly balanced. And when Jill takes it in his skeletal hand, the arm hums, and the hammer hums back at exactly the same pitch, in perfect resonance. Sena tells him she does not know what he is going to do with a smith's hammer, because he has already got a very nice cursed sword. But she felt like the arm wanted one, and smiths listen to arms. Jill looks at the hammer. He looks at Sena. He does not tell her yet, but the arm has just pointed him at the answer to a question he has been carrying for 4 days. Hellforge floats an anvil. Hellforge hammers on its own. But Hellforge, if given a real physical hammer of good make in the caster's real physical hand, will hammer harder and cleaner, and the weapons that come off it will be permanently linked to the smith's hand. Sena has just handed Jill the tool that turns Hellforge from a novelty into a signature line. Jill tells her thank you. He tells her sincerely, and quietly, and without smiling, because Sena is not a smiler and does not seem to trust the ones who are. Sena nods once, briskly, and goes to shovel coal. The next 3 days become the shape of Jill's life in Carcassine. Mornings, he works with Sena at the forge. She teaches him where to hit metal and where not to. He teaches her, without saying he is teaching her, a small trick with heat that no living human smith knows because he took it off the elder dragon's memory of its own hatching. Sena's iron starts glowing colors Sena has never seen before. Middays, he sits with Cola and reads the Resistance's archive of the Sanction. 3 centuries of failed attempts at rune severing. Every attempt is documented, dated, and, in the case of the 27 wearers who died trying, named. Jill reads every name. Cola watches him read every name and does not say anything. Afternoons, Runa trains with Sena in the courtyard. They are not sparring. Runa is teaching Sena how to plate light between her palms. Sena is teaching Runa how to walk in the Empire without drawing eyes. Smaller strides, weight forward, eyes low, chin down. Runa is very bad at it for the first day. Runa is passable at it by the 3rd. Runa complains constantly. Sena tells her, dryly, that Runa complains like a queen and walks like a foreigner, and they need to fix at least one of those. Runa laughs. Senna, once, actually smiles. Evenings, Jill and Senna take short walks through the temple district. Not to Senna's mother's grave yet. Just to scout, Senna maps the district for Jill in real time, telling him which chapel has the sleepy priest, which chapel has the priest who counts pilgrims in and out of the door, which chapel is where the compliance officers meet for weekly dinner. By the second walk, Jill knows the district like his own room. On the fourth day in Carcassonne, the public bell rings at noon. The public bell in Carcassonne only rings at noon when the emperor's word is being delivered to the city. Everyone within earshot stops what they are doing and walks toward the central square. Not by choice, by compliance rune. The runes each carry a small pull spell, and when the noon bell rings, the pull activates. Everyone with a rune drifts toward the square. Jill and Runa, wearing temporary runes tuned to travel visitor level, feel a mild, polite tug. Senna, unrunned, does not feel a thing. She walks with them anyway. The square fills. In the center of the square, on a small raised platform, stands Viserion, robed, hooded, diamond pupils hidden under the fabric shadow, hands folded. Voice, when it lifts, warm and cultured and slightly amused. The same voice from the Glora Terrace at Voss's gala. Jill's arm goes taut against his ribs. Runa's hand goes to his wrist. Senna, next to them, exhales very softly and murmurs that this is not a coincidence. Viserion addresses the crowd. He does not shout. He does not have to. The runes carry his voice into every caller in the city, into every citizen's inner ear. Every person hears him at the volume of a friend leaning in close. He tells the citizens that a foreigner has entered Carcassonne, a dangerous foreigner, a boy, thin, brown-haired, traveling with a red-haired woman. He tells them the boy is a wanted fugitive from the neighboring kingdom of Glora, guilty of the murder of that country's first sword and 2 lords. He tells them the emperor of the Grand Empire has taken personal interest. He tells them the emperor wishes the boy to come to the palace for a conversation. Then Viserion smiles. He tells the citizens that the emperor is also aware the boy may be reluctant. He tells the citizens that any citizen who spots the boy and reports his location to the Imperial Guard will be rewarded with the removal of their compliance rune. The square goes silent. Not the silence of a crowd listening, the silence of a crowd doing math. Viserion tells them that removal of the compliance rune is not a promise the Empire makes lightly. It is a promise the Emperor is now making publicly to every citizen of Carcassonne. Bring the boy to the palace, and take the collar off, forever, no charge. He tells them one more thing. He tells them the red-haired girl the boy travels with does not need to be brought in alive. He bows to the crowd, cordially, one small bow, and turns and steps off the platform. The bell rings again. The pull spell releases. The crowd starts to disperse. Jill has not moved. Runa has not moved. Senna, next to them, quietly and calmly, says one word. Move. They move. They move at Runa's carefully taught small strides, eyes low pace, not running, not fleeing, just 3 people who happen to be walking the same direction, into a side alley off the square, down a switchback, through an unmarked door, into the back of a herb seller's shop, out through the back of the herb seller's shop into a narrow lane, over a low wall, across a rooftop, and down into Senna's forge courtyard by a route Jill did not know existed until Senna walked it. They lock the forge behind them. They go straight to the basement. The resistance is already there. Kola is standing at the chalkboard. She looks up when they come down the stairs and tells them she has already heard. The room is not panicked. Kola runs a room that does not panic. But the mood has changed. Senna's forge has become, in the last 4 days, a wanted address by proximity. The Emperor's public offer to lift compliance runes in exchange for Jill's location is going to make every citizen of Carcassonne who has ever hated their collar, which is every citizen of Carcassonne, into a potential informant. And there are a lot of citizens. Kola tells Jill they have maybe 24 hours. Jill nods. He tells her he is going to Viserion tonight. Kola looks at him. He tells her he came here for the 3rd shard and the shard is walking around the temple district on daily rounds, and Viserion has just publicly baited him personally, and Jill would like to take the shard tonight while Viserion still believes he is the hunter. Kola asks him if he has considered that Viserion baited him publicly for a reason. Jill tells her yes. Viserion wants a meeting. Viserion wants a conversation. Viserion is convinced he can talk Jill into something. Kola asks Jill if he is going to give him the conversation. Jill tells her he is going to give him one sentence and then he is going to eat him. Kola nods slowly. She tells him fine. She then, without asking, tells Senna to go with him. She tells Senna that Senna has been visiting the Imperial Cathedral for 4 days for cover and knows the back rooms better than anyone. She tells Senna to keep Runa outside as backup and to guide Jill in through the sacristy door, which she has been walking past every afternoon for a week, and which is the least watched entrance in the temple district. Senna nods once. She goes upstairs to get her tools. Runa does not like being told she is backup. Runa says as much. Senna, on the stairs, without turning, says that Runa is not backup. Runa is anchor. If it goes wrong inside, the two of them cannot fight their way out of a cathedral. But Runa can burn the cathedral down from outside on a signal, which is the kind of exit Senna and Jill are going to need. Runa considers this. Runa says fine. Kola, at the chalkboard, tells Jill one more thing before he leaves. She tells him Viserion has been in Carcassonne for 8 years. She tells him the Resistance has been watching him for all 8. She tells him Viserion, in all 8 years, has never once done a thing that made him look like a demon. He has done charity work. He has sponsored orphanages. He has personally paid to have compliance runes waved on 3 separate children born to unhealthy mothers. He has, by every visible measure, been a saint. Kola tells Jill that whatever Viserion is going to say to him in that cathedral tonight, Viserion is going to sound like a good man. Jill tells her he knows. Kola tells him not to listen. He tells her he will not. Night falls on Carcassonne. The cathedral of the Imperial Temple District is a heavy black shape against a purple sky. Its bell tower rises higher than the surrounding buildings. Its front doors are shut and locked at sundown, per tradition. Its sacristy door, at the back of the east wall, is not. Jill and Senna approach the sacristy from the north, along the shadow of a bakery wall. Runa is 1 block back, on a rooftop, with a sunfire lance already half formed in her palm and a resistance-issued crossbow across her back, watching the cathedral's 4 visible entrances. If anyone unexpected walks toward any of them, the lance goes up as a signal, and Jill and Senna leave immediately. Senna, at the sacristy door, kneels down. She takes a small tool out of her belt. She works the lock. It clicks open in 6 seconds. She is very good at this. Jill files that away and also decides not to ask. They step inside. The sacristy is dark, cold. It smells like beeswax and cold iron. Senna leads Jill through it in 3.5 strides, past a rack of vestments, past a small altar, through a low arch into the vestibule behind the main sanctuary. She stops there. She turns. She tells Jill she cannot go further than this. She tells him the sanctuary is where Viserion holds service, and she has a compliance rune that will trigger if she steps onto consecrated ground, because the Empire's runes are keyed to react to certain older wards, and the cathedral has some. Jill blinks. He asks her if that means she is unrunned but still leashed to certain places. She tells him yes. She tells him it is the last little joke the Empire plays on the ones who slip the roll call. Even unrun children still can't step into certain buildings because the Empire hard-coded certain places as no-go for anyone born after the 6th Emperor's reign. Jill nods slowly. He files that too. It is a small piece of a very big picture. He tells Senna to wait here. He tells her that if he does not come back in 20 minutes, she is to leave through the sacristy and get Runa off the roof and get both of them out of the city by any road that opens, and to not wait for him. Senna tells him she will not do that. She will wait longer than 20 minutes and she will lie to Runa for as long as it takes. He tells her thank you. He steps into the sanctuary. The sanctuary is lit by a single row of candles along the far wall. The pews are empty, the nave is empty, the pulpit is empty. Except in the front pew, third from the aisle, sitting patiently with his hands folded on his lap, robe crisp, hood pushed back all the way, staring straight ahead at the altar, is Viserion. Jill walks down the aisle. His boots do not echo. He has cast a small silencing weave. But Viserion, without turning, tells him his boots do not need to be silent. He tells him the cathedral is a very forgiving room. He tells him he is glad Jill came. Jill stops at the front pew. He looks down at Viserion. Diamond pupils, pale wax skin. That same small smile, worn like a coat. Viserion, still not looking at him, tells him that they have much to discuss. Jill tells him he has 1 sentence for him, and then he is going to take the shard. Viserion, for the first time, turns his head. He looks up at Jill. He tells him he thought Jill might say something like that. He tells him he prepared a room. He tells him, still smiling, that before the room is used, he would like Jill to hear one truth. Just one. He tells him the Emperor is not the master of this empire. The Emperor is a puppet. The real master is a lord named Malith, who lives under a mountain very far east, and who Jill has now seen through a rift twice. He tells Jill that the Emperor is dying, slowly. Every year the Emperor is less himself. He tells Jill that when the Emperor finishes dying, Malith intends to fully wear the Empire's crown himself. He tells Jill that Viserion is not loyal to the Emperor. Viserion tells Jill that Viserion is loyal to Malith. And Viserion tells Jill that Malith is offering Jill a deal that the Emperor did not authorize and does not know about. If Jill will voluntarily walk to Malith's mountain and let Malith use Jill's bone arm to reunify the 4 Valzard shards, Malith will let Jill keep his own mind after the reunification, and Malith will kill the Emperor personally as a courtesy gift, and Malith will give Jill and Runa a small kingdom of their own, off in the northern coast Jill grew up thinking was the world. Viserion tells Jill that the alternative is that Malith takes the shards from Jill's cold corpse and gives Jill's mind to nothing. He tells Jill that he is offering him enlightened surrender. Jill listens through all of it without changing his face. When Viserion is done, Jill tells him his one sentence. Jill tells him no. There is a heartbeat of pure silence in the cathedral. Then Viserion, still smiling, stands up out of the pew, and behind Jill, without a sound, a sunfire lance appears at the back of Viserion's neck, held in the small, calloused hand of a redhead in a resistance cloak who has just walked in through the sacristy anyway, because Runa does not stay on rooftops when she has decided a conversation has gone on long enough. Runa tells Viserion in her most level voice that she does not like sermons. Viserion, for the first time in 10,000 years, is genuinely surprised. Viserion holds very still for exactly one heartbeat. Then he laughs. Not a demon laugh, not a villain laugh, a warm, quiet, delighted laugh. The laugh of a man who has just watched his opponent play a move he has been waiting 100 years to see. He does not turn his head, he does not move his hands. He simply smiles a little wider, with a sunfire lance humming a finger's width from the back of his neck, and he tells Runa that she has grown into her body faster than he expected. Runa tells him she has always been a fast learner. Viserion says of course. He tells her the old Runa always was. Runa's jaw ticks. Just a hair, he noticed. He noticed her, back then, in the last life. Viserion has been watching her for longer than she has been dead. She presses the lance a fraction closer. Viserion's smile does not move. And then the pews on either side of the aisle stand up. Not the pews. The shadows under the pews. 12 figures at once, folded flat under the wood, slide out on their bellies, and rise silently to their feet, in perfect coordination. Black robes, black hoods. Not human. Their hands have too many joints. They do not breathe. Viserion did not come alone. Viserion never comes alone. Viserion has been sitting in this cathedral every day for 8 years, and every day for 8 years he has had 12 honor guard demons folded under the pews on standby, because Viserion is 10,000 years old, and paranoid is what 10,000 years teaches you. Runa does not flinch. Runa fires the lance, point blank, straight through the back of Viserion's neck, or she would, except the space where Viserion's neck was is empty. Viserion has stepped sideways into a thin slice of the air itself, a black slit no wider than a finger, and out of a matching slice 2 paces to the left. His hood is still up, his hands are still folded, his smile is still on. Runa's lance goes clean through the empty space, hits the pulpit at the front of the cathedral, and vaporizes half the wood. Runa spins. She rebuilds the lance in her palm in under a second. She has been drilling this. Sina would be proud. Jill is already moving. He does not go for Viserion. He goes for the 12. He knows this fight is going to happen in 2 parts, and part 1 is subtraction. He unsheathes Null in a rising arc and cuts the closest 3 honor guards from hip to shoulder in a single sweep. And they do not scream because they don't have the mouths for it. They simply unhappen where the blade passes, and the parts of them behind the cut fold to the floor with the physics of empty coats. 9 to go. Runa peels off toward the left aisle and cuts loose. The moment she is clear of Jill's swing arc, sunfire pours out of her both hands. Plate shape, wall shape, lance shape, whatever the geometry needs in the moment. 3 honor guards on her side charge her, and she meets them with the sunfire wall she used at the village well. This time the wall is bigger. This time the wall is hotter. Two of the three honor guards run into it face first and cook. The third one is smart enough to sidestep the wall and lunge at her flank with its many-jointed hand outstretched. Runa is smart enough to have expected the smart one. She rotates on her heel. The wall follows her. The honor guard's hand hits the wall from the other side and unarms itself at the elbow. She flicks a plate at the honor guard's face. It cuts through the hood and whatever is underneath the hood, and the honor guard folds. 3 on her side, done. 6 left in total. Jill cuts through 2 more on the right aisle with Newell, while stepping past the pews toward Viserion. He has picked up the honor guard's rhythm now. They move in coordinated pairs, one flanking left when the other flanks right. Textbook demon pack tactics. He anticipates 2 more paired lunges and reads them wrong on purpose, so his blade is where the second demon in each pair is going to be, not where the first is. Both pairs collapse. 2 left. Jill is already looking past them. Viserion has not moved from his second position by the left wall. Viserion is watching, just watching, hands folded, studying Jill's footwork. The last 2 honor guards make their move together. One goes for Jill, one goes for Runa. Viserion has picked a target for each of them. The one going for Jill is the fastest of the 12, and the one going for Runa is the tallest. Jill's honor guard hits him before he has fully turned. A joint hand wraps around Jill's neck. Second skin holds. The fingers cannot cut through Elder Dragonhide, but the joint hand can squeeze, and the joint hand does squeeze, and Jill's air cuts off. Jill drives Null upward into the demon's ribs from below. Unmakes the arm. The joint hand falls off his neck in pieces and folds away. He hears Runa yell, "Sharp." He does not have time to look. He hears the flare of sunfire and the crackle of something that sounds like paper burning fast. And then he hears Runa laugh, short and rough, and he knows her fight went fine. 12 honor guards. Done in maybe 40 seconds. Viserion, from the wall, gives them one small polite clap. 2 fingers on the palm of his other hand. He tells them both, warmly, that they have improved. Jill turns to face him fully. The cathedral around them is on fire in 2 places, has 1 hole in its pulpit, is missing about a third of its front pews, and has approximately 6 piles of empty demon robes scattered down its aisles. Runa is breathing hard. Jill is breathing hard. Viserion has not raised his heart rate. Viserion pushes back his hood the rest of the way. He walks slowly out of the corner and up the aisle, toward Jill. Diamond pupils in cold light. Skin like porcelain that has never been cracked. Smile that is not a smile. He tells Jill that he is going to give him one more chance to reconsider Maleth's offer. Jill tells him no. Viserion tilts his head. He tells Jill that he understands. And then Viserion moves. He is fast in a way Jill has not seen. Not sword fast, not demon fast, old fast. The kind of fast that comes from 10,000 years of muscle memory in a body that never tires. He crosses the 10 paces between them in 1 step, because he takes the step through a shred of space he opens at his own foot. He arrives at Jill's chest with a hand raised, and the hand has grown into a claw longer than Jill's forearm, and the claw is coming down at Jill's collarbone in a diagonal cut that would have opened him from throat to hip. Jill catches the claw on Newell. Newell does its work. The claw disappears at the wrist, cleanly, in the null blade's mercy. Viserion's other hand, the one that still has fingers, comes up in the same motion and grabs Jill by the throat, before Jill can bring Newell back around. Viserion lifts Jill off the ground. Second skin holds against the throat crush. Barely. Jill can still breathe, if he wants to think of it as breathing. Viserion looks up at him. He tells him that he was going to give him a very good life on the northern coast. Jill, from a foot off the floor, tells him he already has a life. He slams the sole of his boot into Viserion's chest and pushes off. Viserion staggers back 1 step. Jill lands. Jill swings Newell in the same motion, low, at Viserion's knee. Viserion pivots through another slit of space and reappears 3 meters behind Jill. Jill spins. Viserion is not there anymore. Viserion is behind Runa. Runa spins too. Her lance comes up. Viserion catches the lance in his 1 remaining hand, absorbs the sunfire into his palm in a way that makes Jill's stomach cold, and taps her once on the sternum with 2 fingers. Runa flies backwards into the pulpit. She hits it hard. She slides down to the floor. She does not get up right away. Her lip is bleeding. Her eyes are open, but her focus is drifting. Viserion turns from her. Not before her, but after. He is telling Jill something with the order. He is saying I could have killed her and I did not, so you will now do me the small courtesy of a real conversation. Jill's jaw locks. He does not go to Runa. He does the smarter thing. He drops Newell into his left hand, and he raises his right, the bone hand, and he calls in a memory that has been sitting in the arm since Mount Ragna, waiting for exactly this moment. He calls the Elder's last day. He does not have to speak. Elder Tier memory flash is a broadcast. The image lives in his arm, and he pushes it outward through the arm at Viserion, straight into Viserian's eyes. 10,000 years ago, a slim smiling figure walking up the Elder Dragon's flank in bright sunlight. Diamond pupils, same robe pattern, same folded hands. Viserion sees the memory. For the first time in 10,000 years, Viserion's rhythm breaks. His smile does not fall, his shoulders do not slump, but his eyes go, just for a fraction of a second, still, not surprised, not shocked. Something worse, recognized. He asks Jill, softly, where he got that. Jill tells him he ate an elder. Viserion is silent for a beat. Then Viserion tells him that changes some things. Jill does not wait for the some things to be explained. Jill speaks in the elder tongue, not a full command. He tries a modest one, because he knows Viserion is not a lesser demonic being, and elder voice is only supposed to work on lesser ones, and he wants to see how much of a discount he gets on his tier for surprise. He speaks one word. In the language of the dead dragon under Ragna, the word is roughly translatable as still. Elder voice fires. Viserion freezes, only for a heartbeat. Not a full paralysis. The command hits him and slides off him because he is above the tier the command is designed for, but the impact of the command hitting him at all, of a human boy speaking words no human should be able to pronounce, in the exact intonation Viserion has not heard aimed at him since a war 10,000 years past, jams Viserion's next step for a full second. Jill does not need a full second. Jill needs the half of one. He lunges. Null goes in through the base of Viserion's throat, angled downward, into the pocket of demon flesh Gastra told him about, straight through the connection between the shard and Viserion's spine. Viserion's eyes go a little wider. The unmaking blade slides through the connection, severs the shard's tether to Viserion's body, and passes clean out the other side. Viserion looks down at the blade in his own throat. He looks up at Jill. He smiles. Small, almost fond. He tells Jill, in a voice that is thin and does not carry, that he underestimated him twice in 1 century, and that is not a thing Viserion has been guilty of since the war. Jill puts his bone hand on Viserion's forehead. He absorbs. The shard tries to jump home to Viserion's spine when Jill starts pulling. It cannot. Newell severed the tether. The shard is loose. The shard has nowhere to go except into the arm. It goes into the arm. Viserion's body slackens. The muscle tone leaks out of him all at once. His hands drop. His shoulders drop. His face does not lose the smile, because the smile was carved into him a long time ago and the smile stays. Before Viserion's lights go out entirely, he leans his forehead into Jill's bone palm, closes his diamond eyes, and whispers a name. Just one name, in an old language. 2 syllables. Jill does not catch the language, only the shape of the 2 syllables. He commits them to memory. He will figure them out later. Runa, from her position at the base of the pulpit, catches the sound differently. Runa's spirit has heard many old languages. Runa does not know the 2 syllables either, but Runa knows the register. Runa knows it was spoken in a tongue that predates the war, older than the elder tongue, older than the demon tongue, older than anything Runa has a word for. She files the syllables. She looks up at Jill. Jill withdraws Newell. Viserion's body does not fall. It stays standing for about 3 seconds, like a robe on a coat rack, and then it collapses inward on itself, the way old paper collapses. There is no blood. There is no body. There is just a heap of cloth on the aisle floor, and, floating up out of the heap in a slow curl, one final wisp of dark that dissolves into the cathedral air. The 3rd Valzard shard settles into Jill's arm with a low, satisfied pulse. 3rd shard down. Jill stands there for a moment. He sheathes Newell. He walks over to Runa. He kneels down. He puts his human hand under her chin and tilts her face up. She is fine. She is bruised and her lip is split and her ribs will bother her for a week, but she is fine. She meets his eyes. She tells him she is going to sleep for 100 years after this. He tells her she can sleep for 2 if she wants. She laughs. She winces. She tells him to help her up. He helps her up. They walk back down the aisle. Sina meets them at the door of the sacristy. She takes one look at Viserian's empty robes on the aisle floor and does not ask. She just turns and leads them out through the sacristy, out the back door, back into the cold blue Carcassin night. Halfway back to the forge, Jill's arm does something new. It pulses. Not the pleased hum after an absorption. A different pulse, slow, rhythmic, almost like a second heartbeat, layered under his own. He stops walking. Runa stops too. She looks at him. She asks him what is wrong. He tells her quietly that he can feel the fourth shard. The arm has been pulling east since Gastra died, toward the imperial capital, toward the palace, toward wherever the emperor is currently sitting with his heirloom in his lap. Now the arm is pulling harder. Because with 3 of the 4 shards inside him, Jill's arm has become the biggest concentration of Valzard essence anywhere on the continent. And Valzard essence, per some rule Jill did not know until this second, wants to be complete. The 4th shard is calling to the 3 inside him. The 3 inside him are calling back. He can feel exactly where the 4th shard is. Not a general direction, a specific room, a specific object. He can almost taste it. It is closer than he thought. Not 3 weeks east, 10 days east, in the imperial palace. And Jill's arm is telling him something else at the same time. Something that makes his mouth go a little dry. The 4th shard is bigger than the other 3 combined. The heirloom has been eating for 200 years. Every disobedience death in the empire, every rune-triggered heart stop, every drop of demonic energy the compliance system has drained out of its own citizens for 2 centuries. All of it has gone into the shard. The shard has been fattening in the emperor's crown while the emperor's mind has been thinning. If Jill absorbs it, he doubles in power overnight. If Jill does not absorb it, the shard eventually reaches critical mass and hatches, and Molith walks into the throne room and puts on a crown that is basically a demon god at that point, and the war ends before it starts. Jill has to eat it, soon, he tells Runa. Runa listens. She tells him fine. 10 days. Senna, next to them, listens too. She tells them both she is going with them. She tells them she was going to visit her mother's grave in the imperial capital anyway, and now she has additional reason to see the palace. Runa turns to her. Runa tells her the palace is going to be worse than the cathedral. Senna tells her she is a smith. She tells her she made half the weapons the resistance is currently sitting on. She tells her she has been building a specific piece for 6 months for exactly this trip. She tells her they should let her come. Jill looks at Senna for a long moment. He tells her yes. Runa also tells her yes. Runa puts her arm around Senna's shoulder as they walk the last block back to the forge. It is not a hero arm around shoulder. It is a friend arm around shoulder. Senna's shoulders under Runa's arm do the small, careful hitch of a person who has not been touched by a friend in a very long time. They reach the forge basement. Kola is waiting. Kola takes one look at Jill's face and knows. Jill tells her the priest is done. Kola tells him she felt the shift in the city runes about 10 minutes ago. The city rune system had a fluctuation the moment Viserian's shard broke free of him, and the fluctuation registered on the Resistance's board. She tells him that the Emperor's ambient control over Carcassin has just dropped by an amount she cannot measure precisely but which is real. Jill tells her the shard is at the palace. 10 days east, he is going. Kola tells him fine. She tells him she is sending 15 Resistance members with him. She tells him she is emptying the Carcassin cell for this, because if he takes the Emperor's heirloom off the Emperor's head, the compliance runes across the Empire may go dead all at once, and if they do, the Resistance needs to be at the palace to hold the crowd through what comes after. Jill tells her fine. They leave Carcassin at dawn. 17 people all told. Jill, Runa, Sina, Kola. 13 Resistance members ranging from a 15-year-old runner named Pip to a woman in her 60s named Mordana, who never says anything but looks like she could kill a person by staring at them. They travel in 3 separate small groups on 3 separate roads. Different pace, different papers, different covers, all converging on a small hamlet 2 days out from the imperial capital. Senna and Kola have used the pattern before. The road is uneventful for 4 days. Uneventful in that specific way where nothing bad happens and Jill knows something bad is being set up somewhere out of view. The Empire is quiet in a way that makes his neck itch. On the 5th day, the small group Jill and Runa and Senna are traveling with, 6 people total including 3 Resistance escorts, reaches a farming village at dusk and takes rooms above a stable. Runa sleeps in the same room as Senna. Jill sleeps across the hall with Pip and one of the older Resistance men. Runa likes Senna. Senna likes Runa. Runa is teaching Senna the light plate. Senna is teaching Runa a smith's trick for guessing another person's weapon by the callus on their hand. Jill lies awake for a while listening to their quiet laughter through the wall. He thinks about Senna's mother's grave. He has not asked Senna for the name yet. He wants Senna to have the moment first. He thinks about the shard in the Emperor's crown, sitting 10 days away, calling to him softly through the arm. He thinks about the ivory that is now creeping up the side of his neck. He thinks about Runa. He does not sleep well. On the 7th day, they cross into the province the imperial capital sits at the center of. The land changes. Fields become gardens. Peasant huts become tiled cottages. Every second person on the road wears a compliance rune with a slightly fancier setting on the collar. Small runes for townsfolk, larger runes with additional inscriptions for merchants, ornate runes for minor nobility. Jill notices the runes are all the same color, always cold blue. The color has not shifted. The shard in the Emperor's crown is still active. The Emperor has not felt Viserian's death, or the Emperor has felt it and is choosing not to react. Jill cannot tell which yet. Sina thinks the Emperor is choosing not to react. Kola, when Jill asks her on the road, agrees. On the 8th day, they reach the small hamlet 2 days out from the capital. The other 2 travel groups are already there. The Resistance safe house is a boarded-up mill on the edge of the hamlet's south road. 17 people, 1 mill, 3 days to plan. Jill spends most of day 8 and day 9 sitting on the 2nd floor of the mill with Kola's chalkboard equivalent, a big piece of scrap parchment on the wall, mapping the palace layout from Resistance intelligence. The palace is not a fortress. The palace is a garden. The Emperor built the current palace 3 generations ago as a garden estate, on purpose. He wanted the country to see the Emperor was so unafraid of his own people he could sleep in a house with no walls. The palace's outer perimeter is a low ornamental wall and a wide moat with swans on it. The palace's real security is the compliance system. Every citizen of the Empire is a self-triggering trap. The Emperor does not need thick walls when he can kill anyone who tries to walk under a low one. Which means, if Jill can walk in wearing another face, Jill can walk into the throne room without breaking a single window. Jill has wereface now, freshly ripped off Viserion. Wereface is a very old skill. It is what Viserion has been using to walk around wearing a court priest costume for 8 years. It lets the caster take on any face they have personally seen, in real time, without a mask. The face is a real face. The voice is a real voice. Only certain older wards and certain specific eye contact conditions can see through it. Jill has personally seen Viserion's face, which means Jill can walk into the palace as Viserion. He tells Runa the plan. Runa hates the plan. Runa says he is not going alone. Jill tells her wereface only carries one face. If they both walked in, one of them would be visibly foreign, and the palace will register the disguise the moment 2 faces are on top of it. He walks in alone as Viserion. She waits outside with the 15 resistance members and Senna as backup. Runa hates the plan again. Jill tells her that if it goes wrong, she is his exit. She and the resistance are going to be the only people in a 5-mile radius who can shoot the compliance system when it inevitably turns on the crowd. Her job is bigger than his. Runa considers this. Runa tells him fine. Runa also tells him that if he dies, she will resurrect him and then kill him herself. He tells her that has been established. Sina, in the corner of the mill, asks Jill one question. She asks him if she can borrow the sacristy trick. She wants to see her mother's grave the night before the palace hit. She wants to have already said goodbye to her mother before they walk into the Imperial Hall the next morning, in case the day goes wrong. Jill tells her yes. He goes with her. They walk to the Imperial Temple District on the 10th night, quietly, both of them in resistance cloaks. Unrun Senna and unrun Jill. His temporary rune has now expired, which is a paperwork problem for a future Jill. They reach the Imperial Cemetery 3 streets from the palace itself. Sena walks him to a small stone in the far corner. The stone has one name on it, not her mother's. She tells him her mother is buried under a servant's name to hide her from the Emperor's registers. She tells him the servant name was Lorith. Her mother's real name was Ira. She kneels down. She puts one hand flat on the stone. She sits there with her hand on the stone for a long time. She does not speak out loud. Whatever she is saying to her mother, she is saying it inside her chest. Jill sits on a low wall 10 paces away and watches the sky. After a while, Senna stands up. She takes the small hammer Jill gave her. the ivory-handled one she originally forged for him and he handed back to her the day they left Carcassonne, because it belonged with a smith, and she taps it once, very softly, against the stone. The stone hums back at her. She tells the stone she is going to end the runes tomorrow, if the boy she is with is who she thinks he is. She stands up, she wipes her eyes, she walks back to Jill. She tells him she is ready. They walk back to the mill. Runa is waiting on the mill's second floor. Runa hugs Senna at the door without saying a word. Senna, for the second time in the last 2 weeks, hugs back. Dawn comes. Jill puts on Viserian's face. Runa flinches when he does it. She had told herself she would not. She does anyway. The face on her friend's neck is the face of a man who put a hand around her throat 2 nights ago. Even knowing it is Jill under the skin, her body reacts. She tells him she is going to punch him if he grins in her direction wearing that face. He does not grin. He walks out of the mill in silence. The palace gate at mid-morning is open, because the palace gate at mid-morning is always open. The Emperor's ostentatious no-walls policy is a full-time performance. Jill in Viserian's robes walks up to the outer gate. 2 guards there recognize him instantly and bow. He nods at them once, priestly, and walks past them across the moat bridge, up the wide garden path, through a second gate, past a third pair of bowing guards, across a marble courtyard, up a set of low stairs, and into the Imperial Hall. The Imperial Hall is quiet. The Emperor is sitting on his throne. Not standing, not on his feet, sitting, half-slumped, as if he is very tired. The throne is a simple carved stone chair on a low dais. It is not gilded, it is not gaudy. The Emperor is not that kind of ruler. Behind the throne, on a small stand, wrapped in red velvet cloth, is a shape about the size of a soup pot. The heirloom. Jill's arm goes taut in his sleeve. The Emperor looks up as Viserian walks in. He smiles. Small. Tired. Warm. He tells Viserian good morning. Jill in Viserian's voice tells him good morning. The Emperor gestures at a small side chair by the throne. He tells Viserian to sit for a moment. He tells him it has been a hard week. He tells him the priest has been very busy in Carcassonne these last few days, and he must be tired. Jill in Viserian's voice tells him he is fine, and sits down. He glances at the shape under the red velvet. The Emperor sees the glance. He follows it. He smiles again, sadder this time. He tells Viserian that he has been meaning to speak about the heirloom. He tells Viserian that he had a bad night 3 nights ago. He does not remember what happened after supper. He does not remember what he said to his own steward. He does not remember whether he ate breakfast the next morning. This has been happening more often. He tells Viserian that the shard is finishing him. He tells Viserian, in the specific soft voice of a man who has thought about this for a decade and made his peace, that he does not mind. He tells him he does not have children. He tells him he has been emperor for 43 years and he is very tired of being emperor. He tells him that once the shard has finished, the empire will belong to Malith, and Malith will be a different kind of ruler. But Malith at least has plans, and this empire has not had plans for a long time. Jill in Viserian's face nods slowly. He asks the Emperor, casually, if the heirloom has ever been shown to anyone. The Emperor tilts his head. He tells Viserian that of course it has. It has been shown to Viserian many times. It is worn at every coronation. The word coronation lands wrong on Jill's ear. Because Jill has not been at any coronation. Jill in Viserian's face has just asked a question that the real Viserian, who has attended every imperial coronation for the last 3 imperial generations, would not have asked. The Emperor's smile does not change, but the Emperor's eyes do, just a hair. He looks at Jill in Viserian's face for a beat too long. Then he tells Viserian, very softly, that Viserian is looking well today. Jill knows he is made. He has a choice. Try to save the disguise with a quick recovery, or drop it entirely and grab the heirloom. He hears Runa scream, not through the walls, through the ambient link in his arm. His arm, connected to hers by Reiner's attachment magic and the pendant he still wears under his collar, is telling him Runa is in danger right now, not in 5 minutes, not in an hour, right now, half a mile away, at the mill. Something is at the safe house. The Demon Lord did not send one hunter this time. The Demon Lord sent an assault. Jill's face, under Viserian's face, makes a small tight expression the Emperor almost does not catch. Behind the Emperor's throne, in the air, a black slit opens. Malith steps through it, not a claw, not a finger, all of him. He is small. He is beautiful in the wrong way. He is smiling. His pupils are diamonds. He is wearing a dark green coat, cut in a style that has not existed on this continent in 9,000 years. He greets Jill by name, not Viserion, not boy. He uses Jill's full name, his birth name, first and last. In a voice that is quiet enough to be intimate. Jill has never told a single person on this continent his last name. He does not use it. He has not thought it in 6 years. Malith smiles wider. He tells Jill that he has been reading about Jill's parents. He tells Jill that he has been enjoying the archives. He tells Jill that Jill's mother, before she died, wrote a letter that Malith has personally read 3 times. He tells Jill that in the letter, Jill's mother wrote that she was ashamed of her son. He tells Jill that Malith has that letter, physically, in his own coat, at this exact moment. He pats his coat pocket. He tells Jill that if Jill would like to read it, all Jill has to do is come with him. Jill's arm hums, angry. So does the shard part of him, which is now 3 shards deep, and does not enjoy Malith's proximity. Jill has 3 seconds to make his call. The Emperor between him and the heirloom. Malith 3 paces away. Runa in danger half a mile off. The heirloom under the velvet a body's length behind the throne. He can grab the shard. He can fight the Lord. He can save Runa. He cannot do all 3. He drops Viserion's face. His own comes back. The Emperor's eyes flicker. Jill draws Newell. He steps forward 1 pace. The Emperor does not stand. The Emperor smiles at him, small and warm. Jill swings Newell, not at the Emperor, not at Malith. He swings Newell at the throne. Newell unmakes the throne under the Emperor. The Emperor drops 6 inches straight down and lands sitting on a bare marble step, still holding the arms of a chair that no longer exists. The velvet-wrapped heirloom on its stand behind the throne wobbles. Jill flexes his bone hand and calls the deepest earth magic he has left in him. The Elder Tier 1. The one he only used once before at Mount Ragna. He tells the ceiling to come down. The ceiling of the throne room comes down. Marble the size of horses, then rock the size of houses, then the entire vault above the throne, 3 centuries of imperial construction, folds inward in 1 clean pour. The stand tips. The velvet-wrapped heirloom tumbles. Malith reaches for it. Calm, unhurried, and Jill sees Malith's fingers actually close on the wrapped shape, but by then the collapse has enveloped the throne end of the hall entirely. Jill is already running. He tears backward down the imperial hall in a straight sprint. He wraps himself in second skin at full flare. He weaves compressed wind under his boots and takes the last 30 meters as a leap. He crashes through the front doors as they fold shut. He hits the outer courtyard in a roll. He comes up already running toward the moat. The palace roof groans behind him. He hears the whole hall come down. He clears the moat in a jump. He clears the outer wall in a wind boost. He is on the street, and he is running for the mill. He hears Runa again through the arm link. Faint. Fading. He runs faster. He crashes through the mill door. Inside, chaos. The resistance is fighting. Every one of them. 15 people against 6 silk shadow hunters. The mill is on fire in 2 places. Pip, the 15-year-old runner, is standing over a downed resistance member with a small dagger held wrong. At the center of the mill, on the floor, is Sina. She is not dead. Not yet. She is bleeding from a wound in her side that runs from her ribs to her hip. A silk wire wound. Clean, cauterized, fatal. Runa is kneeling next to her, holding her, with sunfire cupped over the wound, trying to hold her together with heat and light. Runa's face is white. The silk shadow hunters are gone. They came, they cut, they left. Sena stepped in front of Runa when they came for Runa. That is why the wound is Sena's and not Runa's. Jill goes down on his knees beside them. Sena looks up at him. She smiles. A small, crooked Sena smile, the first real one he has seen from her. She tells Runa she is glad she got to walk in the sun with her. She tells Jill to end it. She tells him she means the runes, and the Emperor, and Malith, and all of it. She dies. There is no drama in it, no last speech, no slow fade. Sena, who has been a person for 19 years and unrunned for all of them, closes her eyes at the end of a quiet sentence. Runa does not cry. She does not scream. She goes very quiet. She sets Sena down gently. She takes Sena's hand and folds it across Sena's stomach. She takes the small ivory-handled hammer out of Sena's belt and puts it into her own belt. She stands up. Jill has never seen this Runa before. Not the ghost Runa. Not the reborn Runa. Not the training Runa. This is the Runa who was hero of Old Glora 100 years ago, the Runa who had command of a war, the Runa who has been dormant under the loud red-haired girl for 12 full months. Jill puts his bone hand on Senna's forehead, very gently. He does not want to absorb her memories. He wants one specific thing. He absorbs her compliance rune. Senna's rune was a foreigner clone, but Senna carried, in her fingers, the master imprint of every rune Senna has ever repaired for the Resistance across her lifetime. Senna has been quietly reading runes off Resistance members' collars for 11 years. Senna has, in her hands, the full master signature of the entire compliance system, filed by touch memory. Jill takes it. The arm hums. The signature settles in. Jill now has, in his skeletal fingers, the full skeleton key to the Empire's compliance rune network. He does not use it yet. He stands up. Runa stands beside him. Outside the mill, the Resistance is gathering itself. Kola is barking orders. Pip is being pulled off the downed member and into a head count. The fires are being knocked back. The hunters are gone. The safe house is compromised. They have to leave. Jill and Runa carry Senna out together. Kola sees. Kola goes very still for 1 second, then keeps giving orders. They bury Senna at mid-morning in a small orchard behind the mill. Under an apple tree. Kola says the Resistance words over her. Runa places the ivory hammer flat on the fresh earth. Jill puts his human hand on the mound and speaks in the elder tongue. Quietly, one small word, and the earth around Senna's grave grows a ring of tiny white wildflowers in about 4 seconds. Senna would have hated that. Runa says so out loud. It gets a small laugh out of everyone, which is exactly what Runa was going for. At the horizon, back the way they came, the Imperial Palace is still smoking. The palace collapse continues to settle for hours. Nobody goes near it. Late in the afternoon, at the edge of a hill overlooking the Imperial capital from the north, Jill and Runa stand together. Kola has taken the surviving 13 Resistance members to a fallback safe house 2 provinces over. She has told Jill they will meet him in Carcassonne in 2 months, and if Jill is not in Carcassonne in 2 months, she is going to assume Jill is dead and start the rebellion without him. Jill has told her he will be there. Now it is just Jill and Runa on the hill. The palace smokes. The city below hums with the quiet dread of a country that has just heard something big fall and does not know what yet. Compliance runes on every neck in the capital are still active, because the shard in the crown is still under 200 meters of rubble, but is very much still whole. Maleth walks out of the rubble. Jill sees it from the hill. He does not see Maleth clearly, but he sees the small green-coated figure step out of the ruined southern wing of the palace, walk into the garden, dust himself off, and stand in the sun for a moment. He is not chasing. He is looking east. He is not urgent. He appears to be planning his afternoon. He is unhurt. Jill lowers his hand. Runa, next to him, quiet, tells him she wants to burn the whole empire down. Jill tells her they will. She looks at him. He tells her first. They need one more thing. He looks east. Not at the palace. Past the palace. Past the imperial capital. At the far range of mountains beyond, the ones Demon Sight showed him a lifetime ago, where Maleth actually lives. Not the throne room he just brought down. That was a decoration. Maleth's real house is under those mountains. Runa follows his gaze. She tells him fine. Jill lifts his skeletal arm. He rolls the sleeve up to the shoulder. Runa notices, for the first time, all of it. The ivory that has crept up past his elbow, over the shoulder, along the collarbone, threading down toward his sternum. It is not a hand anymore. It is a slow-growing skeleton, wearing a boy's body around it. She does not say anything. She reaches over. She puts her human hand on the ivory at his collarbone. He does not flinch. They stand there for a long time. Behind them, on the road, a small procession of Resistance members carries Senna's ivory-handled hammer wrapped in cloth toward the fallback safe house. In front of them, on the road east, banners bearing the Imperial mark hang from every milepost, and as they walk toward that road, Jill picks the first banner off its post with a flick of Knoll and unmakes it into ash. The second banner, the third. By the time they crest the next hill, there is a small trail of vanished banner poles behind them, all the way to the horizon. Somewhere in a very old hall, Maleth opens a very old letter and reads it again and smiles. Somewhere further east, under a mountain range that is not on any map, a door that has been closed for 9,000 years thinks about opening. Somewhere in a slower kind of ivory, a small line of dragon bone crawls a millimeter further down Jill's rib and settles. Runa's fingers are still on his collar. She looks up at him. She tells him, softly, that they should probably learn to fight together properly. He tells her, softly, that it will be a nightmare. She laughs. Just a little, just once. They walk east.